I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well, man. Surviving the coronavirus epidemic.
The apocalypse.
Yeah, I guess, man. I don't. This is a lot different than what I thought it was going to look like. So a little disappointed.
Yeah,
so,
it's there's no zombies, unfortunately.
Yeah, I invested a lot in Gurkha knives, and
oh man,
I don't think I'll be using them.
It's unfortunate.
A little bit.
It's a shitty apocalypse. I didn't think it was going to be that shitty, but it turns out that no zombies, no reason for really any kind of violence or tactics. You're just gonna die of the flu.
Yeah, no, it's my whole life is a fucking lie, man.
Oh, doesn't it feel like that?
Yeah, dude.
All those movies for nothing.
Yeah, no, it's fucking lame. Pretty disappointed. And, I guess
so
this is what
it looks like you're stateside.
I am stateside. I just bought a home. I've been stateside since November. So
all right.
Yeah, now I'm fucking working. I work in EMS now, so I guess I kind of have an abnormal job. I don't know. So, but yeah, I'm actually getting ready to go back to Afghanistan for like 4 days.
4 days?
Yeah, no, I am not doing the DOD or DOS. So,
are you just on a vacation or what?
So I was able to make a lot of contacts with people in the non-DOD world, and they needed some help doing some stuff, and I was able, not running drugs or running guns. I wish I was that cool. It's animals. So they're trying to get animals back. Like, how they have all those puppy rescue and all that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm working with a foundation that's doing that, and they essentially just needed someone who was comfortable being in Afghanistan. And I was like,
oh yeah,
I've lived in a villa I've slept in a villa a couple of days, like just out in the economy, and they're like, all right, well, it's way less secure. And I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Dude, there's like a guy with a travel channel on who goes to like every place in the world, and he's like, this is what it's like in the street as a normal person, not associated with any government or doing any kind of like relief aid work. Yeah, no, it's definitely, I don't know, man. Like I've worked in St. Louis, I've worked in certain parts of New York. Like, I'm from St. Louis.
Yeah, I live in
I don't live there.
I live in Cape Girardeau.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So,
yeah. Okay, so since you're familiar with the area, I'm from south of St. Louis, Arnold, Missouri.
Oh, God, you're Jeff fucking trash.
Yeah,
Bro.
I am. Yeah.
God, dude, that is the greatest thing ever, because my fucking girlfriend, wife, whatever the fuck you want to call her, is Jeffco. She's from Festus.
Festus, yeah. So I went to Windsor High School. We played Festus. My brother's high school coach went and coached Festus High School. So like I have an intimate relationship with Festus and Festus High School.
Have you been to Festus recently or no?
It's been like 3 years since I've been there, but it's grown up quite a bit.
Yeah, Main and Mill like really fancied that place up. So it's something
fascinating.
Oh
small
my God.
World.
It is.
How do we live in two small worlds?
I don't know, man. I really don't. I guess it's just fucking lucky. That or I'm just a fucking weirdo. I don't know. But yeah, dude,
okay, so like let's I don't do a whole lot of editing in my show, so let's break it out for the average listener. I don't actually know you, right? We met on Facebook, or we met online.
I'm a fanboy, man, and then you creeped on my pictures. And
I did, yeah. Yeah, I definitely creeped on your pictures, and I shared your videos.
Yeah, no, dude. You creeped on my pictures, and then I guess you fell in love with me or something like that. I don't know.
It's probably the rhythmic hip movements.
Yeah, something like that.
Probably
dude.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, no, you definitely creeped on Facebook. And I think the word you said was, "It seems you've been around a lot," or something like that. Some like that. Right?
Sleazy.
Yeah. And yeah, and then I guess we kept talking, and then I think I made some like fucking, I don't know, backhanded comments about how you want to see a bunch of dudes fucking taking the correct picture to make it look like they're in Afghanistan. And
yeah,
it's funny. The second you said that, I got a people you may know, and it's this guy, and I'll send you his profile just to shame him, not his name, but just between us, that he is cringy as fuck. And it's like, the guy was in the Marine Corps, probably a reservist in probably, I want to say, the mid 2000s, and he missed out because plot twist about the Marine Corps reserves, those guys got murdered a lot over in Iraq, like in 320, 224 and 324 and 225. Those guys, you know, there's some pretty terrible stories about the Chicago, Ohio Marine Corps Reserve units. And I worked with 2 Marine Corps Reserve units who also had combat casualties. And but yeah, he doesn't look like he was in that mold. And he's posted some pictures of him, and it looks like he's on Kaya in Kabul. Like, I forget what the fuck the actual compound is called, but he's like bump helmet that's probably non-ballistic, and like the stock, you know, I'll drop the name, Garda World M4, which is probably a fucking AR-15, honestly, and like the sight you buy at the bazaar, those brand EOTechs, and I'm like, my dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, golly, man.
Just trying to look hard so you don't get attacked. I don't know.
I guess.
But like the internet will attack you harder than everyone else will.
Dude, like you know what the thing is, man, is like the veteran suicide epidemic is fucking real. It's a little bit inflated because I'm pretty sure a lot of the 22 or 20 is like old Vietnam vets who aren't killing themselves because of Vietnam. They're probably killing themselves because like they're old and they're just like, no one cares about me anymore. But there are a lot of GWAT vets, and then suicide in the millennial next generation is a very real thing. And I don't want to come off as insensitive, but it's like, man, you come at this might be the only thing keeping this guy on the fucking earth, and it's like it's not worth it to just be a bully behind the screen, honestly. But at the same time, if you want to cringe and talk shit to your friends, I think that's appropriate.
Yeah,
it's like, man, do I really
I don't know. I come from the National Guard, so I don't misrepresent my position at all. Like, the coolest shit I've ever done has been as a private military contractor.
Same.
I haven't done anything cool in the Guard at all. You know, shoulda, coulda, woulda, joined, you know, insert better service here, right? At all. Like, a fucking full-time Navy would have been dope as far as the Guard's concerned, especially the Kansas Guard. That's the state that I joined. And they have zero budget. They have zero initiative. They're just fucking terrible. They do blow shit up, though, so that's kind of cool. So they are actually kind of good at their specific job. I'll give them credit where it's due. But outside of that, dude, like, I don't misrepresent my service at all, because it's tremendously disrespectful to people who have earned their different patches and their rights to say that they've you know, earned the T-shirt and so on. And you know, it turns out that as an American who's interested in continuing this work, being a private military contractor, you get a different perspective entirely on what it is to be a part of the warfighting scene. And you can get involved in a lot of high level shit, and it doesn't take you you know, 15 to 20 years career training to do it. And I think it's like the best of both worlds. I think being a contractor is like, it's legit shit. Like, you get paid what you're worth, especially in your market, and then on top of that, you don't have to deal with the military nonsense. You can get your beard if you want to, wear a ball cap if you want to. You know, they don't sweat the small stuff, and that's what I really appreciate about the whole industry.
It was definitely a very nondescript military service. Not even in the field I was doing. Came from the Marine Corps, one nondescript deployment, and it just, you know, I didn't do anything worthwhile. I built some ECPs, but that was because I went ADVON And
yeah.
I was standing around not doing anything, but I didn't come from a combat MOS. I was in aviation. We got tasked out to Force Pro, but it wasn't anything crazy. And the way I made any sort of impact in the GWAT, my career, my bank account, that's my life, was just knowing people, being around at the right time, and reading above the third grade level.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And I know you talked about in the other shows and whatnot, but it's really not that hard. I don't want to discredit the staff NCOs I've had, but you will get promoted as long as you're not fat at some point.
That's so weird.
It's just, but that's all government though. Like that's like, that might be all job, as long as you're really not fat.
That's the post office and the DMV. Like if you meet the bare minimum requirements, then you'll have an illustrious career in that environment.
So like, I don't know. I don't want to discredit these people, because you got some guys who are 4-year staff sergeants because they stormed Montezuma, Tripoli, all that stuff, and then you got guys who 20 some odd years just existed.
Oh, absolutely.
It ballooned up in the 09, 07 phrase, and they were 17 years old in 2002. And that's once again, it's very fine line to talk, and I'm not trying to discredit those people, because there are people who benefited from that and became awesome staff NCOs. It's about this whole fucking life thing is just nuance and gray areas. So, but then there's
it's almost like, you gotta like take everything on an individual level, like treat everybody as an individual, and you can judge their career after that. I know plenty of contractors that are fucking dirtbags. I would never want to work with them ever again. There's too much on the line and so on, and they're pieces of shit. But they worked out the system that they understand not to piss off HR and not to not to say the wrong things in front of the customer, and then they'll just be a dirtbag the entire time, the rest of the time they're there. And then I know all these other guys that are like above and beyond fucking go-getters, and they put together the entire operation, whatever it is that I've been working on, and they are the backbone of it. And that's the same with really any kind of industry. You have your pieces of shit, and then you have your people who are legitimate workers and care about whatever it is you're doing. But in the Army that I can talk to, in the Army Guard especially, that ain't the case. You just show the fuck up. You got a pulse. You got your teeth. You can read a little, and you're not fat, and you're fucking good to go. Like you're Lieutenant Colonel so-and-so,
Yeah, and a lot of it too is like my cousin. He's an E7 in the National Guard, and I don't know if he, or the reserves or National Guard, either one. I think he's out of Florida, and a lot of it for him was just volunteering for deployments. So if you have, like, he's single guy, or when he did deploy, he was a single guy. So he did 3 or 4 deployments. One notable, I don't know if he was in Ramadi, but I know he was there during the time, and he was an infantry guy and civil affairs. So he had something to do. So they were like, hey man, you've obviously been in some sort of difficult situation. I'm not saying he was clearing rooms every day. I don't know. I know he's got a CIB, but I know people who have been in a different province and gotten a CIB for an operation. But it's like he's definitely had some strife in his deployments, and it's like, hey man, you've done 3 deployments in 7 years. Here's a rocker, my guy, or you're a sergeant now. So nice job. So I don't know. I've met some of the last Marine rotation I worked with. They were probably one of the most squared away Marine units I met, and they were a reservist unit, but they did have a lot of active duty guys, and the reservists they did have all had deployments under them. So I don't know. I feel like to an extent they were kind of like contractors, just shaved. And, So that's, I don't know. Their lieutenant colonel was in FBI, and you could tell he knew what the hell was going on. So I don't know. But they also had a lot of lessons learned from the Marine unit before them, which I like those guys as individuals, but from their command structure down, had no real discipline, and unfortunately things didn't work out for them towards the end. So
yeah, you get a mixed bag kind of all over the place. I've worked with good Marine Reserve units, good Marines. I've worked with shitty Marines, like bad. Like you have this idea. So I'm not a Marine, but you have this idea of what a Marine is, right? And it's a physically fit warrior. Like that's the general public Marine. That's the idea that I had in my head. And then when I got in Afghanistan, it was like their physically fit warriors were more interested in being physically fit than they were being warriors. And they weren't fighting the war. Straight up, they weren't fighting the war. I was doing the ISR portion of it. And so I had a high level idea of what was going on in our entire AO. And I knew that they just were not going on raids. They were not following up on stuff that they should have been following up on. And it became an issue because, places would get attacked because they wouldn't follow up on things. And that was a big problem.
Can you say what province at a minimum and what year, or is that?
So that was throughout the Helmand Valley area. And it was, I don't know if I can say the year. Let's say it's 2009 through 2013, somewhere in there.
Yeah, no, I know those units. I know probably some of those guys, and I probably know exactly where the ISR was being set up. Probably if it was one of those years, there was a place that was supposed to be shut down that now has a bunch of cool guys working out of it.
Yeah, it's a small world. It's a small world, and you can make a few text messages or WhatsApp messages back and forth and figure it out. There's no doubt about it.
No, it definitely is. Probably met a couple of Jordanians where you were at, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's funny. But it's, I don't know, it's crazy, like the networking and just the meeting people. Like the job I had in Afghanistan, I was a site manager, project manager, site lead. And, I had no business having that job. I started out in operations, just as an operations officer, operations manager, had one shift, 90 Afghans, sometimes 100, and then got promoted, and a couple people quit, a couple things went one way, a couple people got fired, and then all of a sudden you're the guy, you go from having a good mentor to you being the mentor, and it's like, fuck, man, what's going on? And
steep learning curve.
Yeah, man. All of a sudden you're like, oh, that's we've been having to follow the PWS. I didn't even know we had one of these. You know?
Yeah, something similar happened to me where I became a site lead because my site lead literally left overnight without telling anybody.
Yeah, that was my first contract, and people would do that all the time because it was in Eastern Europe, up in Kosovo, which is the gateway to awesome Europe. Because I describe Western Europe as dumb. And if you want to have a good time, go to the Ukraine, the Balkans, Bulgaria, Romania, all those squatting Slav states, which aren't even really that Slavic. And, I tell people to go there all the time. And people would just show up and leave. Like they get picked up from the airport, get their bag, and, the guy would be like, hey, man, like you only brought a knapsack? And it's like, yeah, everything's coming in the mail, and then they're gone. Just walk off post, sign out. Weird. Yeah, it's beautiful. Or people would get there and they'd be like, oh, I thought this would be a little bit more high impact or high combat zone. And you're like, you done any reading about Yugoslavia in the last 10 years? No. Why would I do that? Why would I study my AO before going there? And then it's I don't know, man. You got a lot of those people who are just fucking cringy, thinking that it's the Wild West and Blackwater days.
Oh yeah, that's embarrassing. I've always, so I don't necessarily expect Uncle Sam to help me out because I'm not in uniform. Like, you're not assigned necessarily to a unit like you would be if you were in the Army or Marines or the Navy, where you've got somebody who sleeps on your sleep schedule, who wakes up on your work schedule, who gets you to work, who gets you to chow, who gets you to PT in the morning and all that stuff. You don't have people babysitting you all the time. So I think it's important for contractors to understand that, like, you're your own person. You're your own fucking person. You're your own little sovereign nation running around out there. You know where to get resources, like from your customer, from the chow hall, from wherever you might be. But outside of that, like, you got to be responsible for yourself. I did a lot of training with UAV operators. So I trained a lot of UAV operators to go deploy to different places. And, they're out at like combat operation posts and stuff. They're doing medium to small size UAVs.
Yeah.
And so that means that they're embedded with the customer. So you're doing intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance for your customer. And they're co-located with you. They sleep with you, they work with you, and so on. So, like, if they're in the shit, you're in the shit. If they get indirect fire, you get indirect fire, right? But you're not out there necessarily going on combat operations. Like, you're not, providing security for a fucking for force protection or anything like that. But you are out there in the dirt with them, and it's important to be able to make the sort of like professional connections that you need to get the stuff that you need to support you from a personal perspective, and then your team from a greater team and company perspective. People don't understand that. People don't understand that they're like, they'll go out someplace and they're like, oh, this isn't the exact mission that I wanted. And then they leave. Like, where the fuck are you going? Like, do you want to make 6 figures a year or not? Like, okay, fine, go home and work for Home Depot or someplace like that where you get like, $8 an hour or something like that, and then see how happy you are. Or you could stay here, figure out the team dynamic, support this customer and provide some fucking value, instead of running away like a little bitch.
I've never been embedded with a like that. Nothing too high speed. I don't want to say I snuck off because I was on some mission cards, but I may have been listed as a combat correspondent on a couple.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. Just because a couple mouthwash bottles in too deep, and someone's like, "Yo, you want to come out with us tomorrow?" And you're like, "Yeah, I can." I kind of want to do war reporting, and they're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. You have a camera?" I was like, "Actually, I do." And
what's the cyclical rate on your camera?
Yeah, right. And I've played that game before, and just it's nature of the beast. I was in a very weird position with no oversight. I'm pretty young, so obviously I'm immature as the Dickens, and
you have to be.
Yeah, you have to be. And it was funny because they would bring in dudes to take my job, and whether they had a lot of management experience and whatnot, and some of them, well, not some, a decent amount of them, awesome guys, but we had a story where we had a customer coming onto the base. Well, they were stopped at a checkpoint down the road, and you had my plate carrier, all that stuff, because you're at those ECPs, you're pretty much very vulnerable to get sniper fire. But I'm gonna be honest, and bombs are a pretty big thing with Afghans. And,
you'll just see the flash, no big deal.
Yeah. Well, I would wear my plate carrier without plates to mostly hold like more medical equipment, like tourniquets and bandages, because I'd either be in my office most of the time and I carried a pistol, and the Afghans had AKs. So in times of strife, not to make myself a hero or anything, but I had 400 Afghans. It's a very bravado culture.
I want to add what you just said there. You had, I think, as a civilian contractor, you have the choice to put plates in or not and carry extra ammo or not. If you're in a conventional unit like I was with the Army National Guard, it's dictated to you what you have to bring.
You have the Darth Vader, like
the shoulder thing, yeah.
The guy who was running for president, he was kind of in the Navy. Booty check, Mayor. Yeah, I know it's terrible.
Yeah, booty check. That's him.
Yeah, Mayor Pete. Everyone makes fun of him for wearing all that stuff, and you can make fun of him for a lot of things and whatnot. But he was, and this is what these fucking douchebags don't get, is when you're in those rear units, the fob units where you don't lead, he has to wear that, or else he's gonna get in trouble. And like, I'm not, and he's a captain, or he's a lieutenant, so in 03 in the Navy. He, at that point, he cares about getting in trouble, and he's an officer, so he definitely cares.
Yeah, it affects your career,
Yeah, so like,
you're out of uniform, and something so stupid as being out of uniform will affect whether or not you get the next promotion and you get a fucking solid retirement or not. Like, do the math. Like, it makes sense to do what you're told at that point.
But coming back to the real moral of the story, it's like I didn't have any plates in, and he has his CRC. Shoulder pads and everything. Yeah. I was like, hey man, like, take your stuff off. We're going to go walk down this road. We had like the button down 511s, and, I kind of made mine. I put my pistol in like the crotch carrier, or whatever you want to call it. I hit it semi, so I'm not just open carrying down this road. I was like, we're going to have to go and bribe the ANA to let our client on. He's like, can we do that? I was like, probably not, but we're going to. Like, he's like, are you sure? I was like, I'll wait 5 more minutes. We'll make this phone call. But like, these guys are paying our company a lot of money to come on, or we're paying them, or some because these guys, I don't know, a lot. We provide security for that client, for them to do stuff. It was a mess. I don't care. It really doesn't matter anymore. But money is being exchanged, in which we were told to make sure these people got on safely and were taken care of and all that stuff. So them getting murdered by either fake ANA guys probably is going to get us in trouble. And I need to work here for like 7 more months. So
yeah. So that's the fascinating part about why I wanted to start this show in the first place, is like, people think that there's some sort of button down environment where everything's heavily regulated, like you would see in the United States, where like you have to fill out a certain form to get a process done. That's not the fucking case. What the real world works on is guns and cash. That's what the real fucking world works on. So you want something done, you got to bribe an A&A guy, or you got to fucking kill him.
Yeah, and I went down there, I went down, I called because there's all the jammers going off on this place. So I have to go up to where the COC is. And like, you can't, and like, I had a lot of good contacts with those Marines. And if that was me out there, I'd like to think the Marines would come get me. Probably wouldn't, but they're not going to help you, because one, dude, we're running a non-American, non-NATO, non-DOS, and even with DOS, no one talks to each other. So when you see a bunch of bearded dudes
that's Department of State, for those of you listening. I know that there's a lot of people that don't understand what we're talking about when we use acronyms. So I'm sorry if I interrupt.
No, you're good, man. So like, no one talks to each other, because who's ever at the embassy, isn't talking to the COs, to the BDoc, JDoc, MDoc, UDoc, MEDoc, whatever the hell they call it, on whatever fob. So like, even those guys get left out to dry outside bases for hours. And is that OPSEC? To a degree, but all those guys know, like, they're staring at you. They know not many B6. Yeah, B6 is going around, especially in Kabul, when they're all saying UN or USAID or whatever, food or WHO or whatever the nonsense. Yeah. So like, no one's gonna. You have to figure this out, man. And like, my only request was like, hey man, just like, I'll do a search to show you I'm not smuggling anything in. But we took, I want to say we walked like a quarter mile, and then one of the Afghans who was on the PSD team was able to coax his way, and he said he didn't give him any money, because I had money to give him because I had money to give him if he used it. And he said it was a legit misunderstanding.
All right, so dissect for us the anatomy of a third world bribe. What's that look like? You need something done, and then you got to get it done, and they know you got money. So and there's likely a market for it. Like, they've likely been bribed before, right? So they understand you got cash. They want that cash. They probably have a price in mind. How does that negotiation go down? What's that look like?
It can go anywhere from like an empty threat to when I was, yeah, like I'll shoot you right now. And it's like, oh, okay. And it's like, to like a hand throw, like, I'm not that tall, but I have semi-wide shoulders, a barreling chest, and when I'm over there, my waist is about 2 inches. So I have the solid V going on of like, I'm not ripped, but I look like a fire hydrant essentially. And like I'll get out of a vehicle or I'll be walking around and be like, I will fuck you up, dude. And like, they all know who you are.
Yeah.
They know who I was as like not like war crimes or anything, but they know like sometimes things have happened in which you're doing things and people know who you are, so like especially with 400 locals and whatnot, those who are getting
but they don't know the dynamics, right? So they may or may not know that you have the Department of State or the Department of Defense behind you. They might not know that it's just you out there with your group of local guys, and that if there was any retaliation, that maybe nothing or maybe everything would happen. They don't know if they're going to get if they fuck with you, they don't know if they're going to get airstrikes. They don't know if they're going to get nothing.
Yeah. And eventually just empty threats have always worked for me, and like money
and airstrikes.
Yeah. Well, I was in Kabul International, and like I'm talking about going the local way, not the HKIA way, which y'all fools know what the hell I'm talking about, where you don't have to go through where everyone gets murdered or people have gotten murdered. And some guy was like, your stamp isn't good. Your entry stamp isn't good. As I'm leaving, I was like, yeah, it is. He goes, no, it's not. I was like, I'm going to call your president right now and get you fired. They were like, what? I was like, I'm going to call President Ghani right now and get you fired. And that was it. Like, oh, go. Sir,
yeah,
sorry.
They don't know if you got the number or not.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, but then there's also like, I don't know, like energy drinks were always big because they always have the Alacozais and whatnot, and Alacozai is fucking trash compared to the Rippets, Monsters, Red Bull. So like I would use that if like I was going out into the market, or if I wanted something from the market. You send an Afghan, obviously, because they'll get the better price and they'll trade. Or like I got $1 fake Ray-Bans, which I probably overpaid for, but it was fine. But even another, like it's not just like the Middle East, it's Kosovo. So one guy comes up to me with the cardiac paper, an EKG, or heart meter, and he just gives it to me, and he's like, oh, they need the medical. And you're like, no, dude, like, and he's got some bad stuff going on, and I can barely read it, working EMS, and he's like, no, he needs to go to the doctor. And they're like, no, man, you can't, like, local nationals just can't come on and like use the medical thing unless they're dying. And he was like, okay. And I was like, oh, I just get on my cell phone like you do with a child, and you're like, okay, yeah. And they said you can't come on. They're like, oh, thank you, and they leave. It's like dumb shit like that. That I had one local in Kosovo asked if he can call Donald Trump.
No.
I was like, yeah, 1 second, my man. No, he said you can't come on. Oh, okay, I'll come back tomorrow.
Give him my cell phone number.
Yeah.
Just give me a text, say someone's going to call asking for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I'll do the best Donald Trump impression. Yeah,
right. It's like, yo, your name's Avni, right? He's like, yeah, Avni Goksa. And you're like, yeah, he said you can't come on.
He said specifically you can't come on.
Yeah. And it's like, it's nonsense like that, dude. The bartering system's where it's at, man. I get mad when, like, I'll go to a convenience store here or, like, a corner store, bodega or something like that. I'm like, the fuck is this fixed price bullshit, man?
That's when you know you've been deployed too long.
Yeah, dude. And I'll get angry about it, too, man. Like, I legitimately get, like, upset about it. I get more angry at myself than I'm getting upset about it.
That's funny. I'll do that with customer service people. I'm like, well, you're not really providing me enough value. How about this? I'll pay you this instead. It's like 80% cheaper because that's the kind of value that I perceive your services.
Yeah.
You get mad at me.
No, and I'll tell people at work, I was like, man, like, I'll go and, like, I can get stuff over there, just, like, if they want sunglasses or something like that. I was like, dude, I get shitty Ray-Bans for, like, $1.
Yeah. It's all made of plastic anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, pretty much. And I break sunglasses all the time, so it's like I don't want it. You know, like, I don't want good Ray-Bans.
All right, so let's back this up for a minute. How long have you been contracting?
I started in October of 16, and I left in November of 19. So.
Okay, so recently, we'll put this in quotes, separated from contracting. Yeah.
Yeah. I did the DoD thing. Nothing really high speed, all Force Pro. Like I stated, made connections, proved that people I knew how to read well enough. People got fired, people quit, and then next thing you know, I'm in a position where I'm making way more money than I should be at my age. I think a big thing.
That's not true.
Yeah, true. I think one thing that needs to get right now, a lot of these security DoD deals aren't paying your six figures. There's one company that isn't even really, it's security, but it's not gun-toting security. It's not even ISR. It's biometrics, which falls under security.
Mm-hmm.
There's something called a log cap. I know it's all public knowledge because y'all are hopefully semi-taxpayers at least, or tax filers, or would like to say tax filers.
Pedophiles?
Tax filers. They
are you drinking? Am I the only one sober here?
I'm gonna get drunk tonight. I gotta go do burpees and all this dumb shit. I was trying to.
Best time to do burpees is when you've been drinking.
Yeah, I know, because you also can double up and clean your floor and drink.
Exactly.
There's a cat.
That's right.
So,
hey, little kitty, what's your kitty's name?
I have 3. I got this one named Peach because she got some little peach stuff. I have one named Ralph, and I got a refugee cat I brought from the third world named Sib.
Wait a second. All right. So how did Sib get here?
Sib came here over a little program, Kabul Small Animal Rescue, and he came over and crazy. You know what SIB stands for?
No.
Combat Infantry Badge, because he survived the bombing. So
you got yourself a cat that's got post-traumatic stress disorder.
He's hiding now. He is the worst. Like, he'll come up, cuddle on me, and then I'll like pet him, and then I'll move to adjust if I'm on the bed or on like my couch or a chair.
So there's a program to bring wild animals. I mean, I don't know about wild, but whatever, stray animals from Afghanistan to the United States.
Several programs. Several.
Why? Okay, I know why, because people are animal lovers. I am not an animal lover. I'm an animal eater.
Yeah.
I do have a dog, so it's not to say that I don't love animals, but not in the sense that like bleeding heart people who love animals. I don't do that. But I assume you don't either. However, if you've shared indirect fire with a cat, you probably would feel a little bit more sympathetic to the situation.
Well, I was at a place called Green Village. It doesn't exist anymore. It got blown to smithereens, and so is he. So I remember him running around, specifically him running around as like a small kitten. And I don't know. I saw one of the women that I've met over there. She works for the Afghan government. She's an American. She's doing a lot of good stuff, and she takes the animals and flies them back to the States. So, or she'll have people fly them as escorts and whatnot. And
I mean, is there a lot of paperwork to do that, or what?
Yeah, this isn't like a tomorrow thing. Like, this is unless the paperwork has been done, but it took a couple months. Like, I prepped in like August, and he came here like in the first week November, last week October.
Oh shit! So you left already, and then you did the paperwork to get the cat in the on the back end, or how did that work out?
Pretty much, I left and he got there like 5 days later. I think go pick him up.
Okay, so you timed it well. You filled the paperwork out before you left.
Yeah, and even if I didn't, like I was I had someone come in there. It was semi-impulse, semi-not. I was thinking about it, and then I wasn't, and then yes, and then no, and then he's hiding around here somewhere. But he was pretty fucked up when the pictures I saw of him, and then coming back, he's getting better, but
did you have to pay shipping, or did they like use the cat as a carry-on?
They did all the payments and got him vaccinated. He's got his own passport and everything with like stamps and everything like that. And
little like cute little kid and paw print stamps.
Pretty much, yeah. It's not very official looking, and if I could find it within a second, I'd show it. But it's something else, you know. And then you got fob dogs. A lot of people bring those fob dogs back. And,
oh yeah.
So it's a lot, man. It was definitely cool. It was definitely cool to have something part of that part of the world that you'll never forget. So I'm pretty all right with it.
I'm not a cat person. Personally, I hate cats. However, if I had shared an experience like that with a cat and it was comfortable with me, I would feel like maybe I do identify with that cat.
Yeah, and like being an animal in Afghanistan is pretty terrible. Like the kids over there,
it's like being an Afghani in Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's depending, it might be worse, might be better, depending on the day. And
it depends. Are you a goat or not?
They're able to get goats over. She's able to get goats over. So I don't know how.
Kind? Yeah,
pretty much. Let's I don't know, man. I know you're seeing the things on the camera, which terrible, unspeakable things. So
I don't know. They're not unspeakable to me. I didn't do them.
Yeah,
I talk about it all the time. I'm like, do you guys know that?
Yeah, no, like
go into the details. Like I thought it was an urban legend, like people made it up, but it happens more than I'm comfortable with.
It happened in Kosovo too, a lot. So like
honestly, it probably happens in like Arkansas. Like it probably happens in the Appalachian Mountains. Like it happens probably like where there's not a population of people and you're just like, I don't know. You need to get something out of you.
Yeah, or you're just curious and bored. Like that's really what it comes down to. Like, it has to be. But I would tell people that one guy, the famous Blackwater on the roof. I forget whatever the hell his name was, but he was like, people you come back and they were like, "Hey man, do people really fuck goats over there?" And they're like, "Yes, but plot twist, so do people in West Virginia." So
yeah,
I think you should hold that against them, and I don't. Like way more.
I did at initially, but then I started thinking about like really the remote areas of the United States. Like the way I justified it initially was like, there's been some weird fucked up stuff that's happened in the history of the United States. So I started like back then when it didn't matter. And then I started to like reverse engineer, like, oh shit, it probably still happens. Like somebody's probably still doing that stuff and then putting it, like maybe they made a website and they make money off of it or something.
Yeah.
Like that's probably what's happening. So yeah, it's few and far between, but whenever you do actually see it in real life, you're like, I didn't know it could come to this.
Well, like not only that, it's like we brag about it in Mexico. It happening, like people going down the donkey shows in Tijuana. Like I'm not, and I don't want to sound like I'm justifying like animal cruelty to an extent, animal rape. I don't know. I don't want to.
It's just not new, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, we're not very different from humans. Are very similar in needs and perversions.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's got to be something different. There's bestiality, and then there's also sexism with what you just brought up, because I don't think a female is necessarily more likely to do something with an animal, especially a donkey, given the length and girth of said animals. I think that's probably a different situation than like an Afghan kid like just horny out of his fucking mind and finds a goat.
Yeah,
I think those are two different things.
Yeah, I don't think you're speaking Spanish. Honestly, I understand what you're saying.
There's got to be some kind of psychologist out there like studying this shit that I don't know about.
Dude, fuck, man, he's some fucking Ugandan in a tower, just like there with his masters in psychology, but he's from Uganda, so those things don't exist there. And he's been working in Iraq and Afghanistan since the unsung heroes of the
unsung hero.
And I will go down, and gotten drunk in a bar, and I'm not like this woke fucking dude by any means, man. And I'm pretty close-minded, but I get some people talking shit about Africa, and then I prod a little bit to break it down, and I'm like, listen here, man. There's whole generations of Ugandans out there fighting for your freedom, and they're up in them towers getting sniped and shooting kids with paintball guns, and what the fuck you did? You fucking admin, one of the first admin. Y'all aren't even airborne anymore. You fucking shit. What do you do? I bet you work for the Corps. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about at all. I'm like,
you're like, I don't know any of those words that came out of your face.
I'll fucking kill you. You say another thing about Martin Luther again or John Calvin, and I'll kill you.
John Calvin.
Yeah, all them fucking ridiculous Christian as fuck missionary names that they all have.
Yeah. Do you think you spoke about wokeness, but I'm not going to talk about it in the way I think you think I'm going to talk about it, or most people, listeners especially. Do you think you have a better idea, considering your chosen profession? Do you think you have a better idea what the world's about than other people do? Like,
I
go ahead.
I definitely do, because I don't know, dude. On both sides of it, man, there's a lot of echo chambers. There's a lot of
yeah.
It's the same fucking thing, man. It's like, what, you're gonna go into the woke meccas of New York City, which is where I'm from, and then you can go down to Kabul, Missouri, which isn't the most probably. I don't even see diverse, just worldly. It doesn't have to be diverse. You just gotta go to a different place every once in a while. So I don't know. I definitely have worked with a lot of different cultures, oddly prejudiced against some, very vocal and supportive against others, some on the same continent, some nowhere. Especially,
do you ever find yourself like, I'll kind of explain like how I feel about some people. Like, for instance, like I'll hear that one group, a group that I just met and am barely aware of, hates another group, like wholeheartedly hates them.
Yeah.
And you're almost dumbfounded about like why, but then you realize that you didn't fucking like. I realize I didn't grow up in that part of the world, so I have no reason to judge them on why they hate that person. Like, for instance, when I was in high school, I hated Festus High School, right? I hated it. They were a rival. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I should. They stole my supposed to be head coach, and I had to like make my own two-a-days as a high school student. And then so I was barely the coach. And then later we got a real coach. Anyway, so I hated that school, right? They were a rival of ours. And they wore a different uniform. It was similar to ours, but it was different and all that shit. So like, you look a little different. I hate you. You're down the street. I fucking hate you. You're different than me. You're a different like organism. But from an outsider looking in, I'm like, as an adult, I look at these people, and if I find out that they hate somebody, I'm like, really, I don't judge their hatred. I'm like, you might have a good reason to hate them. I don't know because I didn't grow up here. Like, I find myself not judging people for who they hate. Isn't that weird? Like, I don't know. It's weird for me anyway.
It is. I heard a really ignorant thing when I was in college for all of 7 minutes. Someone was like, if there was only one like human race, there'd be no wars. And I was like, let me sit you down real quick. One, in this country, we had the Civil War, which is fought by a lot of white people. There's also this thing called the Balkan conflicts. There's also the Middle East. There's also, next to World War II, all them African wars with in the 80s and 90s. And, they made that. And there was that Hotel Rwanda thing that, so it's pretty ignorant, some of the things.
It's almost like you have to relate to them with movie titles. You're like, remember the Rwanda show?
Yeah. Remember Don Cheadle being like.
Yeah, Don Cheadle fucking nailed it.
Yeah, with a ridiculous accent.
Yeah.
shit, like my Ugandans, man, all those kids, the kids are all way older than me. All those guys grew up with Idi Amin as their president. You know, like
Yeah.
one of the worst. He saw once again the movie The Last King of Scotland. That's who Forrest Whitaker is based on. You know, so yeah, there's all that conflict and strife of just murder within in the neighborhood type shit. And I don't know, I think we're going on a way more philosophical thing. So there's a lot of hate, but yeah, like I had Ugandans, Indians, Afghans, and Indians. Some of them are Nepalese, so they're not really fucking Indian.
Yeah.
Which there's the strife right there. Bulgarians and Americans, and they all fucking had battle royales, and they all had social cliques. They were all trying to fuck each other over, and they were all trying to get one guy fired, and then they were like, "Oh, by the way, I have my friend." And it's like,
that's exactly what I mean. Like whenever you're actually out in the cultural shit and you're working with people, I feel like, especially whenever I'm new, like first, like easily 6 months new into an environment, I'm like, I don't really find myself passing judgment on who they hate because I don't understand. I know that I don't understand how they hate them. I know that I don't understand the last 200 years of what has happened in that specific environment. Like you can't, if the Montagues hated the Capulets for 50 years and, one group raped and murdered the other group and vice versa, you can't necessarily just walk in and be like, oh, well, this is how it should be. Like, have an idea of what a social environment at that neighborhood or regional even level should look like, because you're fucking new. You don't know shit.
It's cringy, man. It's truly fucking cringy, and it's like I don't know. I don't have. It's nothing we say will ever fucking substitute putting some asshole in that in our shoes or in our fucking boots or Chuck Taylors, because fuck wearing boots and shit like that. And that's really how it rolls, man. You have to go there, dude. But and then there's so many people who fucking go over to Afghanistan and fucking stay on like an internal fucking compound as a gate guard, never having a rocket come within fucking inches of meters, 100 meters of you, and then they're like, I got a t-shirt, I'm fucking ready to roll. I shit on more of the contractors who play that fucking game than I do the service members personally. Like it's one thing to be a 20-year-old kid embellishing your fucking time and going over the Russian ruins of whatever fucking base you're in and taking cool pictures. It's another thing to be a fucking grown-ass man to do that. Outside, like, don't get me wrong, I took those ruins, but they're more just for me and Facebook, because I think it's fucking cool, because I'm obsessed with the Russian conflict in Afghanistan as a history buff. I think you have to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a lot of fucking nonsense that happens in that place, and it's all these fucking backwards cultural wars and on the fob, and I don't know. And there's so much, man. We'll probably be talking about it till the end of time on this podcast, at least.
How many different countries have you been deployed to, either in uniform or as a civilian?
Fucking just technically two. Really, like I did admin work in Dubai for 5 minutes because the company needed me to do a bunch of shit before I left. So I did a bunch of shit in like 13 hours. But that I don't count. I worked in Dubai. I was supposed to go out and get massages from whatever third world lady boy I fancied that day. But in the end, I ended up doing paperwork for my hotel because I probably fucked something up and my replacement didn't know what was going on. So, but yeah, just Afghanistan and Kosovo. I could have went to Japan and I fucked up. I should have went to Japan. I had a job offer in Iraq and I got promoted. And even though the stress level would have been way less and the money was a couple $1,000, I stayed because it's one thing to make $100K or $80K working those 7 months a year as a entry level position. It's another thing when you make a little bit more with way less stress, and it says manager on it, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
It's all about that resume building and whatnot. So I rather hate life a little bit more with a manager. So if I do want to come back and work at the Home Depot in wherever the hell I live, at least I'm a supervisor just by pure competence than anything else. It's really.
You feel like defense contracting is just a never-ending game?
Yeah, like it's definitely. Because even like what we talked about briefly off air, like I'm going on a small thing for work ish, and honestly, it's not financially worth it. Well, it's semi because they're essentially paying me to miss work more than anything. So the job I have in the States right now, I'm doing a volunteer thing that could lead to some paid things in a different country in May. So it's like, I still apply to jobs I have no desire to take just because, I still have that itch to go. I just don't want to be gone as long. I rather go for like a month or two, even on my own dime as a volunteer, and then come back and come back to reality. So I get bored of things way too easy. I'm trying to fill in my map more, trying to set up like weird things. I have some weird goals that I'm trying to do as well, more on the
Like
medical. I'd like to set up there's a program in Haiti called Hero Client Rescue, which essentially a group went down there and they started an EMS service in Haiti. In the third world, there is no EMS service for them. Like in Kuwait, they have something called they have George Washington Hospital sets up all their stuff. So I'd like to learn how to do that so the Afghans can semi take care of themselves, because there's always going to be strife in the Middle East, and I'd like to set one up. And from the Afghans I worked with for almost 2 years, and I started doing some stuff. I had like a half-assed clinic on one of the bases I worked at, and I was teaching them about wound care, but unfortunately some of those programs and training that I did have went to the wayside, and pretty butthurt about it, honestly, but you can only do so much while you're there.
What is the educational like separation between the average Afghan and like a medic? Like, how bad is the education issue in Afghanistan? It's kind of what I'm getting at from a basic biological medicine kind of scenario. Because like I feel like I can keep somebody alive for like a day and a half, maybe 3 days max. Like if it's a good scenario, 3 days. And then after that, it's SOL. They got to get to a hospital or something like that. But that's because I've been medically trained through the military, through some other companies and stuff. Like, what's the difference look like between the average Afghan and say like what I might know?
I don't think you can compare it, man. Like I taught these guys CPR through a translator, through breathing, through videos, and then a guy has a seizure and they're doing chest compressions on him. And I was like, bro, it's for when he's essentially a corpse, man. Like, and I don't get mad. They'll put tourniquets. Like we did training with tourniquets. Even got to the point where I used a dummy because putting a tourniquet on hurts. You do it the right way. Even then, like not doing it right, and it's just it blows my mind for as much war and strife in that country as it is. They don't like take the emergency medical. Like they don't have it, and a lot of it is just done by the Westerner volunteer groups, paid NGOs, Afghan Western doctors that come back and whatnot. But that's mostly in the cities, like in Mazar and in all these other places. Some of you go to the where the people are, the peasants. It's nothing. It's not there. It's some fucking American working outside of his scope, like me. They would bring dudes to the gate who weren't Afghan contractors that were just random because I helped one random guy, and then it went out to the village that the long-haired American, the long-haired ex-company, he works with the Afghans, will help you, which is really fucked up because then I got my emotions, you know, I wasn't acting the way I was supposed to because now I'm bringing dudes and not on to the base, like the real part, but you bring them in that first search level, you're providing aid for guys, you know, and it's like, man, I'm not just going to let some fucking dude bleed out. And in reality, I should have.
How do you feel like, roughly what year time frame was that?
February of 18 to.
Okay. So how do you feel like that relates to the overall mission of like what the George Bush administration was saying about hearts and minds? I feel like there's just, and I ask this respectfully because there's, in my perspective, there's a huge disconnect between the minds of people who grow up with zero education. They don't know how to read. They don't know how to write. They don't know basic biology, like how oxygen works. They don't believe in germs, shit like that. And then they put onto someone like a Marine Corps, like a corpsman or a U.S. Army medic, somebody to that effect, where they have to complete some sort of semi complex medical
let's just go with
whatever event.
Let's just go with a basic medical assessment.
There you go. Medical assessment.
Like when I would teach trauma assessments, and the biggest thing over there is a blast injury, right? Well, a blast injury, if you're not in the immediate kill zone, it's going to secondary, secondary and tertiary blast injuries. And you might be fine, like not bleeding, all this stuff, but inside you got internal bleeding, you'll have swelling, you got pooling up. You know, the big thing would be the blast hurt you so much that essentially gave you a pneumothorax, which is you can't breathe and whatnot. You need to decompress that side of the lung and whatnot. And like, I'm not expecting these guys to treat these people because, you know, outside of a needle D, there's not much a medic or an EMT can do on the spot right there outside of rapid transport and comfort. But things like, hey man, the injury just happened, strip them naked, that's where I need them to be. Because I'm not always going to be at the gates. I'm going to be in my office and I have to drive down maybe with a foreman, maybe without a medic, you know, depending on what the military views as, do we need to push up? Are we going to let the A&A deal with this? Are we going to let another NATO force or coalition force deal with this because it's kind of serious but not serious enough, or it's too serious where Americans are going to get killed? You know, like, you know, goes back to being on your own. It's like, man, they can't even strip these dudes naked. A lot of them. Some of them were fine. Some of them were able to do the whole TCCC program, and they could, you know, take care of some stuff. But some of them, I'm like, hey man, big boom, naked. You know,
I like make it ultra simple. That's kind of my point. It was like the time that I was there was hearts and minds scenario, and I was like, I don't even understand if they understand if there's a difference between your heart and your mind. Like it was so fundamentally different than the overall mission. I was like, I don't think these two things even fucking collaborate with each other. Like, granted, like you said, you got some people. I don't want to discredit any of the Afghans that are well-read and intelligent, because they do exist, and there's a lot. Frankly, there's a good portion of them out there, and I've met several of them, and they're high speed. But there's a lot of people, a vast majority of just regular people that grew up in dirt, and they don't know nothing other than whatever their dad told them.
Yeah, and you know, that's not different than any part of the world. It's just
exactly. It's just tribal life. That's how it works.
It's just the 4G in the West is a lot better than the 4G in Kabul, and that's really what it comes down to, man. Like it's like, for, I don't know, the thing it's a really complex question. It's something I to this day think about on my porch way more than I should, is how much effort that I put in. And then I still talk to a lot of the Afghans over there, and I'll get text messages, and IMs and whatnot, and they sent me a picture of a guy's leg who I cleaned up and healed, and that it was all good, and now he's all types of fucked up, and it's like, what the fuck did I what the fuck was that for fucking months, something simple and not like a gruesome combat injury, but this guy's sock was infused through his leg with pus and blood. Comes up to me one day and he's like, yeah, I have to quit because I'm getting my leg cut off. Fucking excuse me? Like, what? Very, not, hey, I need a day off. Like, hey, I have to quit. They're going to cut off my leg. And it's like, he's able to walk fine. He's got the flex. And I bought him those greens, green supplements, because, they all have gout and terrible diets.
Right. Yeah.
I was able to get him functional. And it's like, for what now? Bought him 3 months worth of greens, He was an older guy. I was hoping he was going to die before he needed more, honestly. He's still kicking ish. Be a cripple. Being a cripple there is way worse than being a cripple here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not exactly like things aren't handicap accessible.
No, they're not. And obviously, if you're a cripple, they look down on those people. Like, definitely.
Yeah, your social status is not handicap accessible.
Yeah. But it is what it is, man. Like, it's, I don't know. I can just be butthurt thinking about it on my porch, and hopefully one day go back and help these savages. And I say that endearingly, not as a racist thing.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going on today in today's American society, but I think they apply that to Native Americans. So I think you're good.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know. I mean, it's a very endearing thing when I used to call them like savages out here. I love it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, more rustic.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
so what's it like? Can you paint a picture for the average? Actually, I don't know the average listener. I need to figure out more about our demographics, but the average guy listening who's maybe not a military contractor, can you paint the picture of what's it like to get out of contracting and then come back to the U.S., get a house, try to find a way to settle down and maybe get a different type of job and find something else to do?
I think it's like getting out of the military again for a lot of people, except I'm hoping a lot more people took the time to figure out that next move. I definitely feel it was more involved for me, because I spent just the similar amount of time overseas as I did my first enlistment. And, I only did like 7 months on a deployment, like most people. And it's like, it's getting back. It's not arguing with the barter system. It's kind of taking that step back. Like it's been a little bit different transitioning, and I know I'm not being really specific, but it's hard to describe it other than the vague ways, just because it seems like this isn't real to me, because I've only been home 30 days at a time, and it's like I'm getting ready to go back. It's like now I can have hobbies, now I can have friends in my local area, not just dudes that I go drink with, and maybe I'll see them at that bar and not exchange. Now I have to do boyfriend stuff and husband stuff, fucking talk to my in-laws and semi give a shit about what they're saying, and I can't bail out of fucking people's things I don't like to do because I'm deployed. So essentially becoming domesticated. It's like, I don't know. I think that's why I bought a wild cat over, so we can both be domesticated. And I don't know. There's a lot of good things about being home. Definitely improving relationships and all that stuff. But there's a lot of shitty things as well. Like I was in better shape over there. Getting to act pretty savage over there. Like, grow your hair out a little bit long. Definitely the workforce is a little bit different. how even no matter how undisciplined someone is in the military, you can talk to them a certain way, and here motherfucker isn't the term of endearment, that it might be over there. And I get kind of triggered over what people think is important and whatnot. And I try not to be that angry neck bearded vet who wears his combat boots and 5'11" pants. I try to wear basketball shorts most of the time, honestly. I try not to wear pants.
Still wearing boots with those fucking shorts, though, aren't you?
Nah, Chucks. I'm a Chuck Taylor. Dude.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah. I do have the Ultima boots, the tactical Chuck Taylors, so I'll fuck with those.
There you go. Yeah, good.
Those are the shoes of truth. But yeah, I try to fucking be semi-fucking pleasurable to be around. But it's definitely not easy. I think about going back all the fucking time. Like we discussed off air, I am going back. So yeah, it's
I always had a problem, and I still do. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about deploying. There really isn't. And that's a very strange. It's a fucking very strange thing, because there's freedom and enslavement with doing that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect way to describe it.
Yeah, it's you've got this freedom of first world responsibilities when you go deploy. You grow your hair out, grow your beard out, be a fucking wild man. Do that shit regardless of consequence, as long as it fits within inside the mission, and you can be a fucking wild man, and it feels good, man. It feels good. But then whenever you come back home, it's like, okay, people don't respond well to the long hair in the beard. They don't respond well to being called motherfucker. They don't respond well to that stuff. And it's a lot of it is the same stuff that that military personnel run into whenever they try to ETS. But we've already done that, and a lot of us have anyway. We've already ETS, and we've already transitioned into a defense contractor, and it's just one more step removed than what it was from being in the Army. And it's such a bravado driven culture that whenever you get here, you're fucking disgusted.
Yeah,
you're disgusted with the things that people see as hard. You're disgusted with like the challenges that people face that fucking cripple them. It's gross. It's fucking disgusting. But you can't come off and say that. You can't be like, dude, you're a total pussy because you got whatever laid off, and now you can't identify yourself as a BNSF or Pacific Railroad engineer. Go get another job, you goddamn pussy. Like, you can't say that shit to people because that, for some reason, drives them further into the dirt. That makes them it makes them softer. It's weird, man. It's two opposite worlds that you're sort of familiar with, and each time you're in one world, you long for the other world.
Yeah, no, it's the grass is always greener. A couple of weeks back, or maybe a month or two back, my boss, she had a conversation with me of like, because I told her, I was pretty new. She asked me how I was doing.
I told her she was super hot.
Oh, I did not say that. Fucking, thank God she's definitely not listening. She probably fired me. But she was asking like how I was doing coming back, and I was like, I'm fucking miserable. And she's like, she wasn't expecting that answer. Yeah. Because and I told her, I was like, it has nothing to do with y'all. Like, y'all all treat me well. Like, I like my job, X, Y, and Z. It's just like, I fucking hate it. She's like, well, why? I was like, I deal with too many fat people. Like, people who shouldn't fucking exist. And it's like, people who fucking are disgusting. Like, people who fucking build a wall around and fucking just put them on.
They don't pull their weight. They fucking consume too many resources. They're constantly the squeaky wheel. Like those fucking people.
Yeah, let's build a fucking wall, and for every fucking illegal, fucking y'all fight that illegal. If he fucking kills you, that person gets to stay. Earn your fucking keep. maybe build an arena instead of a wall. I don't know. There, immigration solved, obesity solved, healthcare solved, all in one, right? And dude, she was like fucking appalled by it, and it was like, it's nothing. It's just, it's a different fucking world, man. Like I can't. Some days I just get like, it's not that I can't deal with it. I'm more mind blown by it, and I'll talk to people.
Those people who don't understand it, those are the guys in Kosovo or in Afghanistan that fucking left their first weekend, their second weekend. Yeah. Those are the guys who said, yeah, my shit's in the mail, and they left. And then that's who goes home. That's who is your fucking hiring manager, your HR manager, and shit like that back home. They don't understand that a life filled with strife can oftentimes be more satisfying than a life that's easy.
It is, man. It's like, and I'm at the point where I'll take volunteering and fucking shit paying jobs that give me good memories and stories to write about. That like in a place like Kosovo, they're not paying worth a dick, but I could go over there and just walk around and, maybe meet up with some Kosovo cops and just like follow them around and be a fake reporter with them, or, what's Kosovo doing in their fire department or something, I can learn about that stuff. That's true strife, man. Like those guys are dealing out some Serbian mobsters and whatnot, and Oregon, stay here, and it's just not exciting to me, man. It's really not exciting. And even some of the calls that I'll deal with on the state side, it's like, there's every once in a while I get that, not so much the pucker factor, but the dopamine raises. But then there's some other times where I'm like, and it's not even like a non-traumatic call. There's some like traumas I've worked with. I don't know, let's fucking do this. But it's not like I've had calls in Afghanistan like where they were way less serious, but it's like, let's fucking go, like you feel like a secret agent because like one of our guys, and Afghans are really bad at communicating injuries. So it's like, sir, he has bloody face. We think he's been shot. And you're like, I know he hasn't been shot. I know you got a rock thrown in his face, and it's way more of a superficial bleed, but let's fucking go. Like you pretend you're like a QRF guy. And you're like, let's fucking go. Like there he's So it's like, man, you throw on your fucking kit and you're just like, fucking, let's go. And then, you go out, you drag him back in, and you're like, oh yeah, you got hit with a rock. Yeah. It's like semi-dangerous, semi-not. I don't know. It breaks up the monotony too, because a lot of paperwork and being a site manager, so it gets you out of the office for 4 hours.
Do you feel like, sometimes I feel like the level of stress is like a 6 in the United States? Like take like your CEO for like maybe for like a hedge fund company that's going under. His level of stress is like a known level 7. And my level of stress has been a known level, I'll call it a 10. Yeah. It's more than his, but he's never experienced a 10. So his 6 is a 10 to him. Right. Yeah. And then you get back and you see what people are dealing with, and you're like, how the fuck can you call this hard? How can you call this stressful? What is the matter with you? Like, just go ahead and prioritize and execute whatever the fuck the problems are. And then you just be done with the day and have a beer. Like, that's what it felt like for so long for me to come back and continue to deal with just everyday first world shit. Like that's the meme, right? First world problems. It's like, oh, you got a first world problem. Your interest rate isn't what you want. That I feel like that puts a lot of pressure on people. And it's not undue pressure. Like it's real pressure to them, but it ain't real pressure to me. And I find that difficult to deal with whenever people are like, oh my God, especially the coronavirus. Like coronavirus has affected every industry. And every one of them, every industry individually is like, we have the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why don't you just grow the fuck up and isolate yourselves and fucking call it a day?
Yeah, it's definitely a weird dynamic with this whole nonsense, because I feel, one, people aren't even prepping the right way. Like I'm not going to come off as like a master prepper, but what I do is I buy a can or two every time I go to the supermarket. So I have an X amount of cans in my basement that I've been doing this
Are you talking cans of dip or what?
Thank God, right? That would be fucking broke. But just like Campbell's soup or like Chef Boyardee ramen, just like try to semi. And when this thing hit China, I will say this hit China in November, December. I did buy $40 worth of like fucking cans because I knew this was going to get stupid. Even if it doesn't actually get stupid, I knew people thought it was going to get stupid. So I will say I did go above the curve just by that. But I went to my local thing, and I live in a city of 60 to 80,000 people or whatever. So we have a Walmart. It's not a small city. These fools bought all the toilet paper, a decent amount of the toilet paper, but bought no baby wipes. Pedialyte up to the wazoo. Like, I'm just you guys. Chicken noodle soup, the only soup gone. No beef, all the chicken.
Yeah, no beef, all the chicken. It's very strange to see what people prioritize. All right, hold on. I'm gonna pause this if it's okay with you. I gotta take a piss. I've been drinking since the last half hour because I'm in quarantine. So fuck it.
Yeah, no. Let me empty my dick as well. Let's do that.
All right, cool. I'll see you in a second. All right, back into my my quarantined sound studio.
Are you actually sick or no? Or
so I actually was sick, and my entire family was sick multiple times in the last 2 weeks, and our symptoms match coronavirus exactly.
Really?
Yeah, and then they didn't test us for it. So some of the tests. Well, I'll say this: some tests have come back negative for coronavirus, or not coronavirus. I'm sorry, negative for the flu, but wouldn't get tested for coronavirus because there's not enough tests.
Yeah, especially if you're semi-fine, like it's not worth it. I wouldn't test you if you're fine.
Dude, the treatment is like the flu anyway.
Yeah.
So there's no special coronavirus treatment. You just get treated like you got the flu. So fuck it.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm working in BMS healthcare, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Best thing is, especially unless you're old as fuck, then you're old as fuck. Then you need to get into the hospital and you need to get isolated and fluids constantly. But if you're 20, 30, 40, even 50 and whatnot, yeah. But I don't know. Either way, man. I've had MERS, the Middle Eastern version of this bullshit, and I didn't get diagnosed with it, so I might have not had it. But I've had.
There's a panther behind you.
Is that him? No, that's
damn it.
Yeah. She'll jump down and ruin everything that's going on right now. So you can she's a little savage bitch.
Again, a term of endearment.
Yeah. Oh, she's all right. She's got a lot better. She was a refugee cat, but from probably Arkansas or some bullshit. So.
A lot of refugees from Arkansas.
Yeah. They're all types of fucked up. But now that we've peed, where else down this autistic rabbit hole should we keep fucking pushing?
I haven't done a very good job of structuring this entire thing, and that's because I don't necessarily know you. So I wasn't sure exactly where to take this, but this is, I want to use this episode as an example of how, maybe how prior military or defense contractor people get to know each other. We talk about the places we've been, the stuff that we've done, then we can find common ground on places. Like you likely know the multiple places I've been deployed to, given the time range and the general region, right? And likewise, if I got that information from you, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, we might have crossed paths during this time, and, or these guys, etc.
Yeah, and that's definitely I don't know. That's what I like about it the most, man. Is like I've met people around, and that's a military thing too. But I think it's just weirder as contractors because it's that. I don't want to say unspoken brotherhood, right? It's just not as talked about outside of Blackwater, and it's not as glorious, and everyone inflates their stories of what probably happened and what they were doing.
Yeah.
Said they were guarding an SF compound on an internal post or SMW flight wing, which that's actually semi-dangerous because a lot of A&A. But it's not the most sexy thing, and I don't know. I definitely find being a contractor is maybe hate veterans more. Like hate, not the bro vet or anything like that. Like I won't go off into like the subculture of veterans. It's made me hate veterans as a general because there's like so many dudes that I've met that were like, man, if I could get back overseas, I would. And it's like, here's a recruiter, I called them already, you're good to go. And it's like, oh man, I'm semi like that now because I really don't want to go overseas for a whole year because I tell a lot of people who try to hook me up with jobs, I'm like, I'm only going to go for 4 months, quit. And they're like, yeah, bro, I can't put my name out there. I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I told you as a friend.
Yeah, that's why I put that time limit on there. Yeah, I get it.
Are you cool with me being a shitbag? Like, I'm not getting a shitbag down there. I'm on my hard. But I just only want to go for 4 months because I got something else down the line and I kind of need something.
You really have to have your priorities in line. Like you really do. And that's part of what's so good about it. Like I'm not deploying right now. I've been a defense contractor. I am not deploying right now. I have a family. I've got little kids. They need me. I understand the stress that my wife has whenever I'm gone. Like she's probably going to be the next guest that I have on here. What's it like to be married to me or someone like me? Right. Because it's very difficult. Like, you know, a lot of in my world, the intelligence world, God damn it, I hate saying that, but it's the best thing to describe it as. The intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance world sometimes requires you to deploy immediately. So if I take a job and I'm gone in the next week, how does that affect my kids? You know, like I understand it takes them like 2 to 3 weeks to get used to me being on whenever I'm on a typical rotation. Imagine me saying that, you know, to a little 3 and 5-year-old girl, hey, I'm going to be gone starting tomorrow. So I'm going to pack my big black bag, the one that you hate me packing, and I'm going to take that shit to some place you've never heard of to stay for a time that you don't understand. Like it's very difficult for my family to understand what I do. And you really have to have your shit in line. Like I get so excited whenever I run into like a young guy who has no girlfriend. He's got no family. You know, I'm like, bro, go make your fucking money. You're going to go make, you know, you're going to go make over $100,000 a year, whatever it is you're doing. And you don't have to spend it while you're gone and you can go make friends and it's going to be fucking awesome. And you can do that for 3 to 5 years before you end up falling in love with some lady boy in the Philippines.
Yeah. And I tell these guys, man, and it's like, you know, managing Americans, especially the ones, single guys, post-service, 23 to 25, no responsibility, you know, and they're not making the money that they should be. They're making 60 to 70 grand. I'm like, yo, you get that goes a long way. That for you as a single guy, even if you have like an apartment, $500, $600, $1,000 a month, you're still doing pretty okay. You miss your family, that's enough money to save up and fly, get them a plane ticket to somewhere in Europe. You know, don't go to America, you know, unless you
stay gone. Take advantage of the taxes.
Yeah, man. Like go fly your fucking mom out or some bullshit out to somewhere exotic. Go take an all-inclusive for 2 weeks in Mexico or the Caribbean. Do shit like that, man. Like, and a couple have spent all their money, and you know, because my first contract, I wasn't single, but I wasn't she wasn't dependent on me for, you know, I wasn't, there was no responsibility really for it. So it wasn't as serious with the woman I'm currently with. And then, you know, I was making less money, but I was saving a lot more of it and I was adventuring more. You know, single guys making 50 grand a year make more than guys making 110 with 2 kids and a wife.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's all and that's another conversation.
Yeah. Well, the cash is more liquid, right? You can spend it on whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
You know, if I go make $140,000 a year, that's dope. I like that, but I'm going to invest it. I'm going to put it away in like life insurance policies. Like I'm going to be living like I made $40,000.
Yeah. No, I definitely, and that's definitely something I didn't change when I was making, you know, when I got that first big pay raise and big paychecks, I was like, I still make 20 grand in my mind. I'm still working, you know, as a bartender or whatever I was fucking doing before I went overseas. You know, I didn't overextend myself. And I could have bought a bigger house than I have now and all that nonsense, but it's like, man, it goes away, or part of the reason I came back is for school as well to finish a degree. And, I knew that this ride comes to an end. Some of these fucking guys, man, and I say kids, but they're 50, 60 years old. These fucking guys, they're taking those 5 to 10 grand paychecks and just blowing them, and then no retirement. Didn't go to the VA and pretend like their fucking world is terrible. And that's it, man. You're gonna make that 10 grand last for next 3 to 20 years they live. Or
yeah, so I need to have an episode specifically on contractor money, because contractor money is the most fascinating bit of money I think in the world. Like if you listen to like a rapper who has put out his second platinum album, like he's got his shit together. Typically, pro football players and shit like that, they got their shit together after their 3rd or 4th year of being rich and famous, and they've got accountants and so on that take care of their shit. Now, the difference between a football player and, say, a defense contractor is about like $3 to $5 million. However, the major difference is going from poor to rich.
Yeah.
Like, because that is really the difference. Like, if you go from lower class to upper middle class, that is a difference in my mind from poor to rich. You have made money that you don't know what to do with. You don't know how to spend money. You don't know how money works. You know how money works. So you exchange your time for cash, and then you go take that cash and you spend it on shit you want. Like that's how you think money works. But you don't understand that there's things that you can go out there to put your money into that you can get an interest rate back. You don't know that you can invest in stocks and bonds and mutual funds and so on. You have no fucking clue of all these other mechanisms that run the economic world. And I want to do almost a podcast specifically on contractor money, and to go from this is what you maybe should do. I'm really apprehensive to tell people what they should do with their money.
Yeah.
Because I blew my fucking money like immediately. I got a $20,000 bonus for joining the National Guard. Right. So like I was like, hey, here's a new sports car. Terrible idea.
That's different. I think that's different though. I think I think blowing your bonuses compared to saving your money are two different things.
Yeah, you might be right.
And that's me. Maybe not as a National Guardsman, because your next check is $600 or whatever it is while you're in AIT. But I met guys who got that $19,000 EOC. Like that's something I never got that I was waiting on, was that end of the contract. Hey man, we protested it another month. We're all making an extra $15 a day. And, it's just $1,000, or we're making, you're getting a 10% bonus at the end of the month. And then it's it's like another 10%. And you're getting these not ridiculous checks, but in the end, after 3 months, it's $19,000. And you're like, I can redo my floors now. Don't have the budget for that. Like, or I can, fix up the basement now. And it's like, I never got that. And that was something I always longed for, was the just hold on, guys. The protest is in. We can't hire. We're on a hiring freeze. That is But I tell a lot of the younger guys who want to play, who aren't doing stocks and whatnot, I tell them all to do CDs for their first contract. Just get used to not having money, but having money.
It's somewhere, it's making a return for you, and it's not like investment heavy where you have to, you have to spend your time researching companies and understanding their technology and business placement in the market. Yeah. CD gives you a return. It beats the rate of inflation. And then, as long as you stay deployed long enough, you're tax free.
Yeah. I preach the CD route to a lot of younger people, especially like when Navy Fed, my bank, not a sponsor or anything. They're throwing they throw like 4% CD rates, and you're just like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. Yeah. It's not like you need a crazy amount of money. You need like 15 grand to start with them. And it's just like a year, 4%. Yeah, and some of them you can add to with Navy Fed, not usually real ones, but that's the hey, we need some money because we just have to do all these mortgages. So we need your money real quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've got inflation rates of 2.3% a year, it's like you got to find a way to put your money into an account that beats that inflation rate. So a savings account of 4% beats the rate, right? So like that's good advice. Like a CD is that's a good way to tell people to save their money without them losing any value. And in fact, they beat the inflation rate by almost 2%.
Yeah, and it definitely starts teaching you just general responsibility as well. Like I don't know, I've met a lot of people who just do the neat. Like I've met a couple of day traders who started day trading for a couple of my guys, and I talk to them, and I try not to give anyone advice because you hurt feelings sometimes. And I do if it was me, or this is what I would do, and some people take it, some people don't. And a lot of times, you live and die by your own sword, I guess. But yeah, it's like, I'm not a big into the day trading guy. I do a lot of long-term stuff, but I definitely think of a Dave Ramsey contractor wise, because man, I'd have guys who are out there with all this debt. And I'm like, how the fuck are you paying all this? Like, how the fuck do you have 40 grand in debt since you've been out here? Well, I bought this, bought 2 cars. I'm like, no, man, you're trying to up your fucking.
Dude, what blew my mind is a Jeep dealership and a fucking Harley Davidson dealership in Leatherneck, Afghanistan.
Yeah, I remember because if you go to that big PX where it had that, it was, and granted the same describing it, but the big PX over there had like, it was either to the right hand side or whatnot. I remember, I know exactly what you're talking about on the main side.
That shit is savage. You're gonna fucking see anybody who's E4 and lower. You're like, hey, re-enlistment bonus. Hey, enlistment bonus. Do you want to spend that shit here? Your bike or your Jeep is going to be waiting for you at home whenever you get back.
Yeah, they have it in.
That's savage.
They had it in Bagram. I remember, it's a little bit smaller.
What kind of drug deal you got to get worked out with the Defense Department to be able to put your fucking Jeep on one of those like little fake fucking plastic rocks that you show off the suspension on the Jeep, and then you put a Harley Davidson out there next to it? Like, what kind of drug deal do you need for that? Nike's not out there doing that shit. Like Reebok's not out there selling sneakers. Like, what the fuck?
The audacity of fucking DOD to do such a thing blew my fucking mind, man. Even as like 19 years old, because I didn't know what the fuck it. I thought it was like when like Toby Keith came out there and fucking donated some bullshit. It's like, no, not at all, man. Like this is just bullshit. This is just like just taking advantage of the money we're making. Because fucking most of these people have been fucking living on fucking social, and I hate to fucking stereotype some of these fucking people, but it's like, bro, you got $100? Hey man, how about you spend 50 of it and then like put the 50 in your savings account? So, when you're, and I don't know, man, the finance class, I like the idea because military finance needs to be taught way more, and contractor finance.
I gotta get those new Jordans. That's what I need.
Yeah,
I need a new laptop. I need that iPhone, the Samsung, whatever the fuck, 1100. Yeah. I need that.
I don't even have a cell phone. Like I have a flip phone I turn on once a week. I use my iPad for a lot of shit just because it's
there you go.
I don't know. I use my iPad as a cell phone.
Hey, what's up?
Because I love you.
You love me? I love you too. What do you want?
Hi.
Oh, hey, how are you?
He says, hi, how are you? But I got the earbuds in my ears. Do you need help? Is this my my cue to wrap up my show? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, hey, no, get out of here, you. Yeah, you're not on the show. All right, bye. That's editing time. Now I got to download this whole thing onto my computer, and it's going to take 6 hours. Love you.
I definitely think the wife contractor thing is valuable as well. Like, because my I don't know, I've brought home way more than I should have, and she's done a really good job of not fucking leaving me. Granted, I do pay her tuition, so school's up in a year, and we'll see how that goes. But
it sounds like you've got a good deal worked out.
Yeah, semi deal. It's pretty all right. But yeah,
it's hard to find somebody who wants to stay with you through more than one deployment.
Yeah, it definitely. And there is that standard comfort of living, but even then, man, like, I've given her the out multiple times. I was like, hey, if you want, I'll finish your school for you, like payment wise, and I'm not easy to deal with. And it's like, I'll finish that school payment wise, and you're good. Like we're good. Like I don't think any less of you. Like if you want to fucking cut out. And she's like, no, I'm good. I was like, I'll even sign something legally saying that I will finish this if you think I'm just gonna fucking back out. And she's like, no, I believe you. I just don't want to leave. I'm like, well, you're fucking stupid, though.
Well, I'm gonna take advantage of this. You're stupid. All right, let's stay together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of these chicks are fucking. And you know, I used to get a little fucking butthurt about some of these girls cheating on these guys, man. But then you're like, oh, this bitch left me. I was like, well, yeah, man, that sucks. Yeah, fucking 10 years over here, and it's like, my guy, I know you've been cheating around on her 1 and 2. It's like 10 years is a long fucking time, dude. So it's like, I think y'all are both to blame, personally. Let's take some personal responsibility real quick.
Yeah, it's hard to deal with that. I've always distanced myself from people who I knew were married or in a relationship, and then like, hey man, let's go out to the bars, like let's go hang out. Like, so my last one of my last gigs was as an instructor to prep ISR operators for deployment.
Were you down in Florida?
I was in California.
Okay. No,
yeah, there's an East and West Coast sort of group. Anyway, so I was on the West Coast group. Not ideal. I'd rather be East Coast. Anyway, doesn't matter. So there was, they're changing their life. Like I'm not changing my life. I was stateside, right? So I was away from home, yes. So that it had the vibe of being deployed, but I could call my wife and kids any day, right? Anytime. And we did. We talked every day. But everybody else, all my students, once you get to know them, we had a 6-week training program. And, that 4 to 6 weeks into it, they get to know you on a more of a personal level if you're worth a shit as an instructor. And so they're always trying to take you out, right? They're like, they want to hang out. They want to get the inside scoop on what the mission's like, what they're going to be doing downrange. They're changing their life, right?
Yeah.
It is a big event to go deploy to a war zone, regardless of whether you're a trigger puller or somebody who just does logistics.
Yeah.
Like it's a big event to leave your friends, family, loved ones, and so on. So they're looking to party. They want to party hard. And it was always not a struggle, but it was like a cultural dance. You had to be very careful of like, I want to keep these guys respect. I also want to aid them in their efforts, and I want to see them off. Like they mean a lot to me. Every student that came through, even if the ones that sucked and didn't listen, like they mean something to me. Like I feel like they're on some level you're tasked with mentoring them and to making them applicable to the warfighter.
Yeah.
And it means a lot.
Very new in the job you're doing. It's there's a lot of people that I know in that job who are doing something else different. That it's like, how did you get there? Like
yeah.
It's like you were a postal clerk and now you're doing that. And it's like, oh no, man, applied. Buddy's doing it. Once again, the Noah guy thing. And it's definitely from where you're at. You need to kind of be that daddy to be like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what it's like. And
we would have 10 to 12 hour class days. And then I would invite them over to my house if they needed extra help. And then so we would put in 16 hours a day, me and the other aerial vehicle operator instructors. We would put in 16-hour days helping these guys out because I don't want them to get downrange and some fucking barrel-chested SF motherfuckers like, hey, why didn't you see that IED in the ground? Why didn't you see this guy squirting out to go get a resupply and call his fucking friends? And now my friend is dead and I'm going to fucking kill you. Because that's exactly what happens. Like you're co-located with the customer. The customer is the most badass human being on the planet, and he's fucking furious with you. Now, I don't want to put my operators into a lion's den where the lions are hungry and they want to eat your ass. I don't want to do that.
On them small fobs.
Oh my God, dude. We sent these people to fobs that don't exist. These places are in the middle of fucking nowhere. You're with, a handful of other people, And if you fuck up, it's your ass. And I don't want that for them.
Well, there was that khaki former Green Beret that they think got murdered, and I don't know what. I'm pretty sure he was a jet guy, but jet joint expeditionary team member. It's all these master sergeants from the teams that go on joint patrols with fucking conventional units because they used to go out on random. But I'm pretty sure he got fucking murdered. Or I read he got fucking murdered. But he worked for khaki, Wexford Group. It's Googleable. He was on task and fucking purpose. Yeah. And so man, like that shit is weird. And like it's probably even worse when you're going to the fucking African fobs. Honestly, I'll go out on a limb and say that, man, because no one ever, Iraq, Afghanistan, everyone fucking knows about that. But when you're in those outposts in Syria and all that shit, all those spook bases, yeah man, like a lot of freedom there. Also a good place to get murdered if you fuck
up. Those teams are so tight that they could murder 10 of you guys and nobody would. It would be like, oh, well, we got indirect fire and now their bodies are fucking destroyed and we had to burn them because that's what we did.
Wagner Group has all them contractors in the Congo, and you got a fob in the Congo, dog.
Yep. Dude, you can get rolled up and fucking murdered right quick. So, and like, there's two things, right? Like, I want to protect my guys from getting murdered. They're not going to get murdered typically. You have to fuck up real bad to get like seriously like threatened or murdered. Like, they're normal human beings for the most part. Like, they are very good at their job and so on, but they don't just go out fucking killing everybody. But two, they're there to provide value for their overall mission. If you don't provide value, that's my number one fucking goal. And it always has been that, like, on a personal level, like, if you're not there to provide value, get the fuck out. And nobody wants you there, right? So if you're not doing, from my perspective, ISR, if you're not doing solid POLs and getting good intelligence, then you can go the fuck home. And then on top of that, if you end up doing something where you missed intelligence that was well within your, your daily operations, then, double fuck you. You fucked up twice. You missed something solid that you were already trained to go get. And then on top of that, I can't help you or protect you from the barrel-chested freedom fighter that wants to rip your head off.
Yeah. No, nothing what you're saying is fucking Spanish to me, man. Like, it all makes 100% sense. And I don't know, dude. I think when you start, and maybe not even like the special forces support that a lot of fucking contractors do, but just like, hey man, this is how it is around here. Like, it could do something for some of these fucking kids that they're not ready for. Like, hey man, let's go take your body armor off. We're going on a walk. They're like, what? I was like, yep, we have things to do. Let's go to the market and buy supplies. Like, well, why can't we get them from the company? I don't know. There was a bomb in Kabul and we need toilet paper.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to do stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's straight up a setup. I'll tell one of these days, I'll tell my setup story. I was a new guy, and this isn't the entire story, but I'll give you the rundown. Yeah. I was a new guy at a new talk, and they needed hard drives that were classified hard drives. They were secret hard drives. They needed them at a different talk. We're shutting down and we're pulling out, right? So they're like, hey, Adams, you can read, write, and you got all your teeth. Why don't you take these hard drives with you on the next Sea Stallion, and you'll take it to your next location. And I didn't know any different because I wasn't trained on it. I was like, yeah, cool. Throw them in the bag. Good to go. Like, let's get out of here. And then thank God the Marine there who was in charge of all of their, I think, what is it, S4 for Marines or something? I forget what it is. He was in charge of all of the classified documentation, including the hard drives. And he was like, hey, do you have a card? And I was like, what is a card? And he's like, he mentioned, a carry card for approval for carrying classified documentation. I was like, I don't know what that is. Maybe I'll ask my boss back home. So I sent an email back up my chain, and my chain was like, don't touch those hard drives. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And so what I was brought into was a part of this fucking nonsensical scheme to prove to the customer that this subcontractor, which is who I worked for, was incompetent and that they were going to make mistakes. So they were trying to set me up so that I would make a mistake. And sure enough, I got on that Sea Stallion. We flew out to our next location, and they did a full fucking TA-50 dump. Like everybody dumped all their bags, everything that was in it. I didn't have those hard drives with me, and that's what they were looking for. Somebody tried to set me up. They tried to set me up from company to company, not person to person. So they didn't know who I was, but they were trying to like show that that our company was full of shit bags. Yeah. And I just so happened to get luck out. The Marine there was like, hey, don't carry those. And then I emailed my company. Company was like, yeah, they're right. Don't carry those. And so I said no. And it was a big fight. And then when we got to our next location, we dumped all of our bags, and the shit wasn't in my bag.
That was it goes even minor stuff as far as something like passports and getting visas done at the embassy. Like they've done that to internal company of just, we want to get this guy fired, and he didn't sign the passport transfer sheets. Yep. And it's like, fuck, dude, it gets savage, man. It really gets.
That's where that dirty merc comes in. That phrase, dirty merc, dirty mercenary, filthy fucking mercenary, shit like that. That phrase means a lot to me, especially since I was set up unknowingly and accidentally got out of it. And so like after that, man, that was like 3 months into it, and my eyes were wide open.
Yeah. Or like when you'll be with the Corps or something like that, and he'll try to get you to do something without PPE on or something like that, and then just like, nah, homie. I know what your fucking game is. I know this is a setup. One, because I can speak the fucking language.
Yeah.
Or I can understand the language well enough to where I know that something's not right. And they're chirping on the radio. The Afghans are chirping on the radio and saying the keywords. So, because this dude would go and tell them like, hey, don't say anything to like your bosses and whatnot. And they would speak it on the radio, and I would understand semi it. Like, pick up every fourth word, put the sentence together. And I'm like, yeah, they're going to fuck us. And I'd be like, yo, don't do anything. This isn't real. This is a lie.
I was going to ask how often you worked with Afghans heavily, it sounds like, in a lot of them. So like, how often was there an honest miscommunication, and how often was there just pure malice? Like they were trying to fuck somebody over or get money out of somebody, or like screw somebody over, or like try to do some sort of like what do they call it? Green on blue kind of scenario.
Never had a green on blue. The closest I ever had was the incompetence, and the only reason why you could even say it was close was because the Army liaison, my Corps over there, which is let's say the military's union rep towards the company, he oversees the contract. It's usually a lieutenant or a captain that no one likes.
Yeah, it's true.
He oversees it, and he was so on edge and tense, and it was at the shooting range that he was yelling and making things worse, and the Afghan slightly got up, and I probably saved that Afghan's life because that dude would have fucking shot him. And then and it's terrible to say, and I'm coming off as a fucking apologist, and I fucking hate this, but you have an Afghan, he's got a fucking gun, firing line, confusion. That captain probably would have got a fucking Bronze Star, and that Afghan would have been murdered. It would have been covered up. But in the end, it was just a lot of confusion, and the Afghan got up, and I ended up kicking the guy in the back of the fucking neck, stomping on him and keeping him on the ground. But there was motherfuckers ready to draw and all that shit. And it was like, guys, come on, man. Like, I got him. I'm literally standing over him, running this firing range. Like, I got control of the fucking range. And I think I fucking told the guy to like chill out, man. I was like, you're fucking freaking these guys out, like you're fucking raising the stress level of these fucking dudes. And he's like, well, it's very dangerous out here. I was like, yeah, I'm more worried about getting shot by you than these guys. He's like, well, I don't work with them all the time. And I was like, yeah, I know, I get that, but bro, wouldn't you want it to be like not like a relaxed environment, but like you not fucking rolling around like fucking Quick Draw McGraw, like try to put in these guys' face? I was like, they can't fucking shoot the target. They can barely. If they stick a gun in your face, it's probably going to go 8 ways to the side. And if you allow an Afghan in a prone position to get up and then swing a rifle around and shoot you, you suck. You fucking suck. And I was like, are you carrying with a round in the chamber? He was like, well, no, we're not supposed to. And I was like, yeah, there's your fucking issue right there, too. You know? It was like, you want to be fucking quick draw McGraw, but you're going to have to fucking snap one back on a Beretta that barely fucking works and probably doesn't even have a rear sight. So, like.
So was he running the range? How did that work out? Who was this guy?
He was our contracting officer. I was running the range. I was the RSO, the range off. Oh, well, yeah, I was the RSO. We had a range officer. You know, I was doing the commands through the interpreter. And the Afghan was having an issue with the AK, and he got up, tried to like help him out, do the remedial action, still have an issue.
All right, so hold on a second. So RSO, for those who don't know stuff, it's a range safety officer, and you're in charge of safety for the shooting range. So you got a lot of people in lines. Imagine like large outdoor bowling lanes almost, and then they've got targets to shoot downrange, down their bowling lane. And then you're the RSO. So you're in charge of making sure that everybody is safe and they're firing when they're supposed to fire and they're not firing when they're not supposed to fire. They reload when they're supposed to reload, and they don't point their weapons in unsafe directions, was basically non-down range. Yeah.
And, you know, this guy running around, kind of walking up and down, and when he's your core, they can give you something called an NCR, which is a non-compliance report, which could be fines, which there's several layers of them. Company gets docked money. It's a big deal to mark on your permanent record, and it could lead to lack of renewal up in what the fuck's that place called? Rock Island, Illinois, where they do all the contracts.
Oh, so lack of renewal on your contract.
Well, maybe not. Maybe as an individual, yes, me. But like we've gotten guys. I would say we've gotten guys have gotten fired due to receiving an NCR, a personal NCR of like one dude. He didn't have he counted his rounds, and he didn't have enough ammo. Like he was short a magazine. They gave an NCR, and he had 2 write-ups, and they fired him.
Okay, so that's a point I want to bring up to people. I think a lot of people, when they think of military, or even if they think of contractor ranges, I think they think that you just walk up to the range, you got however much ammo you want to have, and then you just work on it on a personal level, almost like going to the fucking gym and lifting weights however you want to lift weights. You know, so it's very controlled, right?
Yeah. Like you
have to qualify. Like there are standards you have to meet, and then those standards are relatively rigid, and the way you meet those standards are rigid. You need an RSO to walk you through all that.
Yeah, and there is an army civilian who is essentially the range master. But depending on who is on the range and all that, he's either up in your shit, like on your dick, or he is just like in his office just watching a movie or, you know, making targets and whatnot. So it can, depending on who you are, if he had open range time, if you're cool with him and he likes you, and like we were on the AK platform, he didn't really get to shoot a lot of AKs. We went out and we did that cool guy fucking walking and shooting, and, you know, we did drills and we did immediate action nonsense. But that was bonus time because the guy liked me. And the guy was cool with me, and he let me mess around. And for the average armed guard on post, that's not reality. And it was the same thing in Kosovo. Kosovo, we had more freedom. The company did. We had the OIC, the range master, you know, that we kind of just messed around on, and because we had more free, if we were qualing guys. But as far as like the peon guard, like new guy, you're going to shoot the set course of fire, whether it be the Army standard, it be the company standard, the customer standard is really what it comes down to, whatever the Department of Defense or the Department of State want. And if you're working for an NGO, they might not even have you shoot. You might be a recommended guy that your buddy got a job with, and he might just be like, yeah, man, he's good. And then there's an AK.
Describe what an NGO is.
A bunch of bros with a bunch of money who are trying to do some good or bad in the world.
It's so true.
Like I know, you know, dude, and something, you know what the biggest regret is about that for me not going over, like as a fucking pretend volunteer mercenary when the ISIS thing cut off is I know 3 or 4 dudes who went over as volunteers that all got job offers to stay in Kurdistan as PSD team leaders. Some of them with very limited military experience. But all they did, they showed up one day with a good, like, doing the right thing. And, yeah, now they're working for an oil and gas company doing pretty all right.
There is so much to be said for just showing up and doing the right thing.
Yeah. You know, man,
dude, in the warfare world, like, nobody wants to do war. Nobody wants to do conflict and fighting. A lot of people say they do. That's where you get that fucked up posturing where people are like, oh, I'm tough and I've done schools and stuff. But honestly, like, when you start comparing it to like civilian life, a lot of people don't like, especially American civilian life, a lot of people don't like war. There's a lot to be said for being the guy who just shows up and just does the job. And then you'll be revered provided you do the job. And the job is usually something like keep this convoy safe, keep this location safe, ward off any attackers and assholes. People want a zombie apocalypse, but you don't volunteer for one.
Yeah. It, like, dude, there are a couple times. One of a semi job offer I have is from this logistics company over there. And he saw me not like do anything crazy, but there was a suspicious vehicle. I told the people, I was like, hey, dude, like, I get why you're saying this, but this is a Tuesday. Like these aren't the droids you're looking for. And and they're like, no, this is the Bolo. I was like, I get it's the Bolo, but I'm telling you, I know that truck over there is for the one with the AKs. Like, the truck drivers, they have AKs because this is a dangerous place, and that guy takes all their AKs. I think they give him like a little bit of money. He's like, so there are weapons in there. I was like, yes, there are weapons in there, but regardless, everyone's got, you carry a gun in Virginia? Yeah, fucking Second Amendment, all that. Yeah, a little bit more dangerous in fucking Kabul, Char than it is in Virginia.
Yeah.
And so pretty much, well, it was because it was off base. They couldn't do the secret squirrel stuff. And I was just like, I'm gonna go up to it and get this guy, and he's gonna explain all of this, and he's gonna probably give you cards to the American because they all have an American rep because there are vehicles coming on the installation. And I was like, I will fix this. He's like, you're gonna go out there and just do that? I'm like, yeah. This is we're gonna put a drone strike 4 inches away from base, and we can't have that happen. Like, because that's what they were like. Well, it was getting so fucking stupid, and
I can make that happen.
Yeah, right. And it was getting real stupid, man. And I was like, dog, you're gonna get some people fucking hurt and killed. So I just, I went up to it. I fucking explained everything to the guy. I had one of my Terps, and I was off base. And the guy spoke a decent amount of English. And next thing I know, there's a major who's like covered behind a T-wall. He's like, I don't want you going out there like that without any PPE. So I had to go get my fake body armor that I have, which is a bump helmet that's plastic, and my lacquer plates. It was just fucking shit show, man. And, it saved World War III. And it's like the guy who runs that company, where I had to call and came down, he was like, I really appreciate everything you just did in this situation. I was like, bro, I just didn't want anyone like dying for no reason, man. Like I didn't want assets being used. I was just trying to be like a decent fucking human being. And they're like, well, here's my card, man. I don't know what you're making here. Probably fucking pay you the same amount. It's a little bit dangerous, a little bit more dangerous of a job. If you don't want a job, fucking hit me up. And I look at that card occasionally, and I email this dude. But it's like little shit like that, man, where like, you just went outside the wire, and you fucking didn't really have PPE on, and you're fucking, just went up to this Afghan with all these guns, and I'm like, yeah, I guess, dog. I don't.
Yeah, you just showed up and did the right thing.
Yeah, man. Like, could he have shot me? Yeah, fuck yeah, dog. Like, was I nervous and scared? I wasn't scared, I don't think. I was more nervous, because it's not even that guy. It's the dude. It's the guy who's watching the base that is a bad guy that could fucking be shot. The fucking dude who's always squatting in one of them buildings over there, and it's like, fuck, dog. Like, it is what it is, right? So, but then now I have at the drop of a hat, $100K fucking job, you know, when I want to, essentially. So there's that. You know, is my life worth $100K? I guess it is. I don't know. I guess that's my cap.
I get emails, you know, like every contractor, I put my resume out there to all the hiring boards and so on. And I get these emails that are like, they're automated, but they try to make them personalized. So it's like, insert in here. I think you're a great fit because of your awesome profile on LinkedIn or whatever. And, you know, I did force protection and convoy security and stuff like that. But it was in low threat environments. I don't have combat experience where like I drove, you know, through an X or some shit like that. Like I don't have that kind of combat experience, but their automated email systems email me. They're like, you'll be great for this. And I open up the job and it's like, you know, it's like static security personnel or like personal security detail, executive personal security details and all this other shit. I'm like, bro, that's not what I do. Like, that's not what I'm an expert at all. I do other shit that you're not emailing me about. And it's funny how like an example like that, like maybe that wasn't in your job description, but it's a time where you can say that you did a job well enough that benefited the entire group. And it was under what people would perceive as, especially a hiring manager, extreme stress.
Yeah. And like all the medical shit I've done over there wasn't my job at all. Like was in no way like in my contract said provide aid and emergency care to X, Y, and Z. And it was just like, you know, guy got hurt. Guy needs help. Let's push on, you know, like let's do this, let's do that. You know, it's really
one of the most honest things people do whenever they've been deployed a few times is well, not one of the most honest things, but what people tend to do, I think, is they don't church it up. Like there's nothing to lie about. There's nothing to posture whenever you've done some stuff, right? So like when I always get annoyed whenever I'm applying for like a corporate job, because I've been in and out of this game, right? And like I apply for a corporate job, and you know I'm trying to like get a job at corporate Walmart or something like that, and they're like, describe an experience where you have executed well under extreme stress. And I'm like,
every day, dog.
do you want to hear what I actually have to say, or do you want to hear what I think you want me to say? Because they're different worlds, man. They're different fucking worlds. If it's the difference between, you know, on my end, it was finding high value targets and killing them, and then doing before you kill them, do a pattern of life on their entire family, all of their neighborhood, like get to know everybody who's in the fucking village for the next 6 to 8 months. Yeah. If like, and then you finally fucking find the guy, and then you finally get an airstrike or artillery rounds on him and whatever. And that entire process, like, how do I condense my experience for corporate Walmart to understand that I can handle the fucking, oh shit, we're low on dog food in aisle 7. And oh no, like the checkout counter in the self-checkout isn't working again. Like how do you explain that to people given your experience? And do you even apply for jobs like that, or are you applying for something that's like less boring? Because we talked about like jobs here being boring for you, and I totally sympathize with that, because I don't fucking find anything outside of running my own companies. I don't find anything exciting for me.
Yeah, and I have some weird side hustles, man. Like I'll do like I worked for doing EP, and I'm not like trained in being a bodyguard, and I do want to go to a course, just not so much for work, but just because I do it, well, I guess for work, for part-time and whatnot. And I also enjoy people paying me a lot of money to go to a weird city and just, you know, hang out. And I meet a lot of cool fucking people doing it too. Some guys who you can learn a lot of good stuff and as well. So, you know, I do the EP thing, and you know, I do storage wars, man. Like I do my own little storage wars and keep it pretty low key. And it's just like, man, I get a rush out of these fucking sales and finding these steals that I do on some of the calls I've worked. at work. And I'm just like, man, am I fucking retarded? Like, I feel like I'm the issue more times than not, man. And I just think I have friends that are former drug addicts, are drug addicts. I'm just a fucking functional drug addict at this point, man. That's what I tell people. It's like, yeah, I found my version of heroin. Some people think I'm a productive member of society, and really, I'm just a fucking chode. Like, I'm just a douchebag who just wants to go back to the third world. And I talk to people about it a decent amount, and it's like, man, I don't think I'll ever lose that. And there's so much invested in there for me as well. Like, I'm at like 29 months of my life there, 22 of them with the local populace. It's like I treated and helped their family members. Like I helped their kids. I was there when they got the phone call that their brother in the ANA got murdered. It was like my family. And some of them were just amazing. I was there when they got the phone call that their kid got fucking murdered, who was an ANA soldier. That was pretty fucking shitty stuff. And, you still have to explain to them with a language barrier and have their breakdowns. A couple of my guys, we had one guy who had not a trauma, but a medical thing and a medical emergency, and he almost died. And he had sons that worked on posts. Well, they're at 2 different posts. And I have to bring him in and talk to him. Be like, hey, man, like, here's the situation. Your dad went in cardiac arrest. And they don't know what the fuck you're saying either, even in their language. Your dad, ba-boom, ba-boom, helosha. And, I did what I could. And he's in the hospital now, and they're not sure. And they go, and these people don't fucking grieve, man. They're very appreciative of the intervention you take a lot of times to help them. And, like, fucking, where else do I get that fucking high, Like,
yeah, where else does any other action that you take mean that much to somebody?
Yeah, like I'll get it at work every once in a while, but even some of the bad stuff that I've dealt with have been at the doings of people, of some of the bad situations, like saving a fucking drunk driver's life. Sucks sometimes because you're like, man, you kind of put yourself in this situation. It's like, it's not like smoking in the 40s where your doctor tells you to smoke. It's, you shouldn't get fucking blitzed and drive 90 miles per hour.
So I have 2 questions. I'll ask them in order because I think the second one is going to last. The answer might last a while. Are you familiar with OAF Nation?
Yeah. OAF Nation?
Yeah, OAF, Operators Fuck.
Yeah, I am.
They've got some phenomenal writers on that website.
Yeah.
Have you? Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got an email back, and they're just like, hey, we're looking over your stuff. So.
That's right. They're looking for writers.
Yeah. The guy who does it, Ryan, or not Ryan, Ryan is a writer for them. I've talked to him a couple of times because he's semi-living the life I want to live, but I need to get my degree and go live that life first.
Degrees are useless. Anyway, my personal opinion. So are you familiar with the article Lost Boys?
I have seen it. I can't. The last article I read about them was the compartmentalization, but I do understand the term of Lost Boys because I've used it myself before I saw that article. So
yeah, it's something that kind of circulates regardless of the article's existence or not, but it's very, very well written, and he talks about basically the duality. Like when you're home, you think all you think about is being gone, and when you're gone, all you think about is being home. And there's an analogy there between Neverland and being home, right? So Neverland is your deployed environment where you have responsibilities, but they're lesser responsibilities, and it's an easier life, and your decisions are not they mean more whenever you finally act and you decide, but they're lesser decisions, meaning like you're not raising kids, like they're more immature, there's an immaturity with it. And he makes the analogy, and I'm bastardizing this entire article, by the way, but basically makes the analogy that people have to decide whether or not they want to be lost boys or if they want to be real kids and go home.
Yeah, and nothing about what you're saying is wrong. And I looked the article up, and yeah, I have remember reading it. And man, my aunt put it in perspective for me about the whole like not so much lost boy thing, but you know, I actually flipped not too long ago on what was reality and what wasn't. I always felt like America was like this was reality and this is the real world, but it's really not. Like most of the fucking world like is in strife and conflict, and it's like this is more of Neverland, and now it feels like I'm in the Matrix now.
Yeah.
And now it's like you go over to the third world and you're like, yeah, murdered child on the road, or you know, dog eating out of body, and you know, nonsense and explosions, and like that is the reality for so many people in the world. It's like that's out of the Matrix. Like and I don't believe in the real Matrix, so you know, but I do believe that this is a fucking weird, like the American Western lifestyle is a weird fucking thing. So when these viruses happen, like this is such a fucking shield. But like, dude, 100 years ago, literally a fucking 100 years ago, we had the Depression, the plague. You know, you died, and you had 90 fucking brothers and sisters because 70 of them would die, and you needed them on the farm. And you know, like, you know, think about fucking coming off the fucking boat, and oh, you want to be a citizen? Okay, like granted, the U.S. military semi does this, but you know, like, you want to be a citizen? All right, you're going to Tennessee, Irish guy. Fuck you, and then maybe you'll live. And by the way, your wife and shit isn't citizens, so hopefully you find them again. Good luck in Tennessee. You know, so it's like that's the same thing over there, man. It still holds true, and so I get the Neverland analogy, but I definitely feel like Neverland is more or less here, in my mind at least, than over there. But yeah, it's fucking weird, dude. I think it would get real weird if there was more of that Rhodesian, South African PMCing throughout the late 80s, middle 80s, and 90s. If a lot of us got on into that, where we're really just chilling and on them fucking like no DOD or DOS oversight. I think that would really we'd thrive in that, man. Like a lot of us.
So I do know some people who do those things, not in those areas. And yeah. I'm trying to get them on the show, but yeah. They know the deal. They know what the internet's about. They don't want their faces or name plastered anywhere. They don't want their IP addresses associated with anything. And it's very difficult to get those types involved.
Yeah.
But like, I want the world to know that it's not. I don't know. You know, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what I want them to know. But on one end, I want them to know that it's not sunshine and rainbows. That your 401k might not fucking be there because a warlord took it from you. Like I want people to be more appreciative of the things that they have. Like, we're going through this coronavirus nonsense, and like I'm fucking, quarantined in my house. But God damn it, I can go down to a park. I got this fucking ridiculous electric skateboard that I just like zip around in my town with. It's like super fun, and I go with my kids, and like life is great. And people are calling it quarantine like it's the worst. Like, people in my neighborhood are calling it quarantine like it's the worst thing that's ever happened to them. And it's just, I don't want to sound like that crusty old veteran, because I don't think I am, and I don't even have the crusty old veteran experience, to be honest. I don't want to sound like that guy, but fuck, man, it is so good here that people don't even appreciate the smallest things that they have. Like the fact that we can have a conversation over Wi-Fi is fucking dope, man. Like, this is amazing. I don't know. You can't appreciate it if you grew up with Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Everyone wants a revolution, man, until they realize that there's no fucking Wi-Fi in revolutions. You know, and I always said, man, there wouldn't be a civil war in America. There'd be a civil battle, because the second there's a fucking murdered child, both sides would be like, oh my God, what did this kid is dead. What the fuck do we do? And I'm like, yeah, dude, mad kids die in wars. Like,
yeah, let alone like giving your kid an M60 and strapping him with bullets.
And I hate fucking talking like this, man, because I'm really a
so do I.
I'm a closed-minded individual. Like I fucking feel like I come off like a bleeding heart so many times, but I'm really not, because I don't know, dude. But then I just feel like fucking people are just so ready to fucking murder each other. I'm like, hey man, like, I'm semi down to do this, but like, you need to realize that like murdering children will probably be a fucking thing, because one of them is going to go out and you're going to be spooked and you're going to kill a kid. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a person.
Yeah. I mean, the hardest thing one of my neighbors has to deal with is the Walmart near our house has a reduced organic food selection. It used to be bigger. Now it's smaller. And, you know, at the same time, she doesn't even realize that there are parts of the shelf that are completely fucking empty. Like, there are parts that are completely missing because of the coronavirus scare and hysteria. That I'm like, look, dude, like, at any one point, if something else goes south in our logistical setup here in the U.S., you won't have any food.
Yeah. No, it could get real, dude. Like, I walked into my local fucking corner store today or yesterday, and they were good. Their business is doing well because there's a couple fucking smart people out there who realize, oh, I can go to the fucking local store and get bread and help out the small business owner rather than this conglomerate. And but there's, they're like, yeah, we're making more money now, but we're also like really confused and semi-scared that someone's going to feel froggy and rob us. And I was like, well, I can fucking do a stakeout down the road from you if you really want me to, because y'all don't deserve to get robbed. Y'all work way too hard, and I think there should be less people in the world. So, and they ain't dying from the coronavirus, unfortunately.
I think the virus thinks there's going to be less people in the world. There should be less people in the world.
Yeah, I think it's trying. I think it wants to, but I don't know.
Part of this is all like analogous. Like, there's nature and ourselves. Like, we're always trying to prune the bush. Like, something's always trying to kill you. And I think my annoyance is that socially, and before I even knew this was even an issue, because, I used to be one of those people that was kind of closed-minded of how the rest of the world works. But one of my issues is like trying to show people that, like, it's not always going to be given to you. It's not always going to be available. Like, you have it so easy. You don't have to try for anything. Everything is so fucking easy. I don't want it to bother me. I try not to let it bother me, but it's true. And I think the virus is sort of showing people that a little bit. They're like, it's like, hey, like, if you're old or you have pre-existing conditions, this is nature and it'll fucking kill you.
Yeah. We, I get shitty because my grandmother is one of those people who, if she gets the coronavirus, she's probably going to die. She's also 77 years old, who she's had a really bad, like, disease. It's not cancer or anything, but it's definitely not she's been doing really well for herself. And, I've been really blessed to have all this time with her. And, are we gonna fight that for a minute and we're gonna try to keep her quarantined and not get her sick? Yeah, man, because, it's my grandma. But at the same time, like, I'm gonna be sad if she passes away, but I'm gonna understand, because I understand how things work and people die. And, she's definitely lived a better life than some of these fucking 500-pound 40-year-old people that I picked up with chest pain. So, I think that's part of the reason why I like working where I was working, because I could make a semi difference and help these people and, do something with my life and, I guess make her fucking semi proud of me, and validate my own existence, which is the most important part. Being proud of yourself, I think. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of people, veterans and contractors, get out and they lose a sense of purpose. And I think that's a big issue, a driver to that, kind of bring it back to the very beginning, that suicide rate I don't think people find a purpose sometimes when they get out.
Yeah, it's about that next objective. And I know it's fucking tacky, but it's like having that next thing that keeps you going. And I don't know, man. Like fucking, I don't know. I get more validation out of helping people and making myself feel like I am a semi-necessary cog in the world than I did slinging drinks and fucking doing other shit. So,
yep.
I don't know.
Do you have any advice for anyone who's looking to be a private military contractor?
Yeah, I think, man, and we've been talking for fucking 2 hours and some, and probably I'd like to come back on and we can talk about more topics. And
I think we could talk for a while.
Yeah, and I think it's the best way outside of the military to improve your class, and especially if you're fucking single, man. Like, and some of these fucking companies, dude, they'll you got security experience, you fucking church up your resume to be a mall cop, or like your cousin who was in the military was working for fucking Vectrus doing supply in fucking Kuwait, man. He can get you a fucking job. And if your life sucks and you suck, do it, dude. Like, really do it. And even if you got family and like you're making ends meet, go out and fucking risk it for the biscuit. And the way I look at it is the best
That's
way
a fucking t-shirt, by the way. Risk it for the biscuit.
Right? But like, think about men in general have always went west or went east or went south to improve their fucking lives. That's all fucking contracting is. The closest thing we have to true colonialism in America, in the modern world, that's legal. Like, granted, African tribes fucking each other up still, and it's fucking beautiful. But man, like, there ain't no East India Trading Company. You know, like, Eric Prince is the closest fucking thing to true colonialism right now, and with his company. And you got to have this special T-shirt to wear that fucking to work for him. He's not calling me. Might be calling you, but he's not calling me right now. So I got to fucking up my fucking game a little bit.
I don't answer anymore.
Yeah, right. But it's the best thing for someone to go out and fucking make their life better drastically without being a pro athlete or YouTube star or fucking stuff. So I recommend it. I do think people should do their homework on, is the juice worth the squeeze? You know, and it's coming down to being an adult. You know, you gotta know the type of woman you have if you're married, or guy you have if you're fucking married to, or if you're a chick on the other side, you gotta realize you're gonna be in a testosterone-filled environment. That if you're not a fucking badass chick, and I've had 2 real fucking badass chicks who put these fucking, you know, single fucking tour fucking National Guard, you know, essentially fucking arrogant versions of yourself in their fucking place, and I've loved it every second of it. You know, one fucking tour in the reserves as a 92 Alpha, thinking they're hot shit because they went to ESI or CRI, whatever the fuck that stupid course is called. And I fucking have loved every second of it. And, you know, you got to think, like, all these different things, man. The outs, the benefits, the yes, the no. Good YouTube, that guy from Kit Badger, YouTube video Kit Badger did about contracting. And if you type in security contracting, it's got 700,000 views. It'll come up. So there's a lot of good shit out there, man. And I think it's a good way to up your social fucking class if you're smart.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, well, we'll close it out, and I'll do an intro I'll do a pre-recorded intro later and slap that at the beginning of the video. But thanks, man. I appreciate you making the time, and you know, thanks for all the stuff that you've done.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, man. I really enjoyed coming on and shooting the shit, man. Definitely, I feel like there's a lot more to talk about too, and now I'm all jacked up and amped up and ready to fucking go, man.
Yeah, there's a lot we can talk about. I'm gonna have a handful of returning guests because I feel like any one of these topics we could extrapolate on for an hour or more.
Yeah. And it's all the same, but it's all different too. And everyone's
absolutely.
You know, I feel like we all come back to the same fucking pinnacle of the triangle or pyramid, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But we all, like, those other fucking levels are just all full of so much awesome stuff, dude. And I don't know. I definitely think there's a lot of, you can't write the GWAT without contractors, without the Lost Boys. So.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Thanks for your time. We'll end it here.
Yep.
All right, man. I'll see you.